In these past 5.5 years, we had over 400 players, 50 teams, and 15 seasons of some of the best Overwatch in the world. Today, one team joins the hallowed halls of history alongside X6 Gaming, Runaway, Element Mystic, World Game Star Phoenix, and of course, O2 Blast. Today, we crown a brand new Contenders Korea champion. XERO and PokerFace are set to take the stage. Take aim and hold true, boys, because only one will win the 2023 Fall Series. Welcome, one and all, to our final show of the year. It's myself, Pulsable, alongside LaFawn, bringing you all of the glorious action today as we get a brand new org. Only 5 orgs, by the way, have ever won Contenders Korea. Today, we make it 6.
And it will be a brand new first time at that. So this is going to be a good one. And then, I mean, you know, let's take a moment, right? Take a moment to breathe in sort of the history that surrounds us here, because, you know, talking about those 5 orgs that ended up winning all those seasons ago. I mean, you know, the likes of, hey, there's a pin on your shirt there that reminds me of one of them, Runaway, of course, a fan favorite, O2 Blast, of course. We've known how successful they've been over their entire career. So the thing of the matter is, between PokerFace and XERO, they are going to be joining some mighty names overall. Yeah. And I mean, what accolades to sort of heap on the teams once they win out today.
And this is our first champion in a year. Our other 2 seasons this year, the prize wasn't a crown. It was going up and playing against the Overwatch League teams, right? Panthera, PokerFace, of course, who we'll see in just a moment, O2, Simprissa, Rhodes, and several others had a chance to face the best of the best of the best. And now we culminate in one more season, one more to figure out who learned the most or who is up to bat next. XERO didn't play the Overwatch League teams, yet here they are.
Yeah, and I mean, coming all the way from the WDG Open, this team, right, in the previous seasons, they were number 1 at the end of the WDG Opens. They cut down all challengers looking to do the same here. They've already had an opportunity against PokerFace once in the group stage, looking to make it a second time in a row. But speaking of learning, right, we are, you know, moving in towards the tail end of competitive in this year in terms of this one. So this patch has had time to gel, right? Oh, yeah. That's another thing we can kind of highlight. Obviously, the Overwatch League Grand Finals happened over the last week. You and I were there. We got a chance to sort of see what the meta was sort of shaking down, and it seems from our semifinal matches that has actually bled into our team's performances and selections heading into the games today.
For sure. And I mean, you know, at the top of the season, we just hit the Zarya patch. The rumors of scrims were like both Overwatch League and Contenders were Zarya. And then we got into this season and we saw surprisingly little Zarya, and we were thinking, you know, is this really what the Overwatch League is going to look like? Yeah, actually, more or less. It turns out Contenders Korea, they do in fact know what they're doing. Who's surprised? Nobody. But the meta has, of course, evolved since then. It's still pretty diverse, right? You still get an opportunity to see quite a few comps. Maybe the Doomfist and the Zarya less so these days. Doomfist is still, I think it's only won like 3 maps across both Contenders Korea and the Overwatch League. Stay away from the Doomfist, guys. Don't worry, though. These 2 teams at least haven't been touching the Doomfist that much. It's been a Sigma that we've seen a lot over the past couple of days, LaFawn.
It's actually really interesting that the meta has adapted into this, because coming into the playoffs, I was really worried for both XERO and PokerFace, actually, where the meta didn't really seem to favor them going into this. But now, I mean, it has fallen into their hero pools. Let's take a look, though, as to how we got here, because there is some fantastic surprises as we get into the game itself. Of course, started off with that group stages, as we highlighted earlier. We eliminated a bunch of those teams. We then moved into the playoffs. Our first 2 teams in each group got a bye, and then played out in a single elimination bracket to get us to our grand finals, as we see here. Fairly close in a couple of, actually just one match, and the rest were kind of blowouts, but it all culminates here in the grand finals today on LAN at the WDG Esports Studio.
Yeah, and you know, it's crazy to see that so many of those teams that went up and played against the Overwatch League squads actually got eliminated pretty early too. I mean, only 4, if I'm doing my math right. Yeah, 4 made it through when we had I guess we only had 5, so that's still pretty good odds. But XERO and JNGK, they defied the odds. XERO defied even more odds to make it here. Not just make it here either. Make it as the #1 seed, as the team to beat against PokerFace, who have looked so solid all year. We got one 1st to 4 match. for all the marbles here, LaFawn.
Tremendous stuff indeed. And I mean, coming into this is now an opportunity where we get to see where real legends are made, where the heroes stand, because as we said, it is going to be on LAN, on stage. A lot of these players, not a ton of experience in front of a crowd. This will be I mean, I say a learning experience, but you don't have a lot of time, so you better learn awful quick. As we get a sense of where we stand here between our two teams, PokerFace and XERO.
And we are back in the WDG studio for it. Our teams are just about ready to enter. Here comes our first team, PokerFace, to take the stage. PokerFace, what a strong org they've become, emerging toward the very end of last year. I mean, a lot of these guys have been on this roster for a while. You know, you look at Simple, Valentine, Finale, who comes back now after his stint on the Vegas Eternal. What a roster that we have today, and honestly, a great meta for them, you would think.
Indeed. I mean, Peppy's the one I'm looking at first, right? In that tank role, sort of standing front and center, leading the team on the Sigma. But as we highlight PokerFace, so too their opponents take to the stage. The upstarts from WDG Opens, XERO, a team that is looking to be one of the first team in a very long time to come from the Opens to win the entire championship. All the way back, I believe, GC Busan, the last team to do it. And that is a throwback indeed.
Ooh, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. XERO, and I mean, you know, sometimes when it's a team that comes up from the Opens and they do really well, it's like, oh, well, you know, it's all of these ex-Overwatch League guys who just made a team in Contenders Korea. No, it's only Kilo who's been up to the top of the top. Everybody else on this squad, you know, Attack is the next one with the most experience. He's been bouncing around Contenders Korea for a while, but a lot of fresh faces and a lot of young talent hungry for their first title.
XERO plays with a ton of swagger as well, right? This is a team that you load into the server and they have no respect for anybody. And I mean that with all possible, you know, respect in terms of what they're capable of doing, because sometimes when you play against your heroes in a lot of these instances, there's a chance to kind of fall prey to giving them space. XERO have none of that, and that has served them quite well as they make their way trying to take away this grand finals.
No losses, 0 losses. It fits. And then they're up against PokerFace. PokerFace, who already lost to XERO once, but did defeat Dreamers yesterday, a team that, I mean, a lot of people, myself included, expect to make a very deep run, if not be favorited in this season overall. An insane grand final that we have coming up today.
And PokerFace, too. Their path to the finals was not an easy one, right? That was a close match yesterday. Keep in mind, it was a reverse sweep. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It actually felt at certain points like it was on Surasa where they made their comeback start. It wasn't like Dreamers were iced out on that map either. It was a shutout in terms of the points, but you know, Dreamers were right there neck and neck. It just felt like PokerFace, you know, turned over a new leaf on that Surasa map, and they're hoping to get that momentum as they filter into the grand finals today. And I think the question is for our first map is, as we kind of get into the studio or into the game itself, which team is going to settle down first and kind of just like, you know, play the most aggressive style they can and not give their opponent opportunities in sort of to take space in the map and try and win fights in a row.
We got a Peppy fan, a couple of them in the audience here today. Peppy the best is that what that sign on the right, I believe, said. Yeah, okay, yeah. Peppy the best. Yeah, hey! Oh my God, I got one right, LaFawn. Are you proud of me?
Speaking of proud, I mean...
I didn't even mean to do that. That was great. Actually, that was probably all you, honestly. We'll give you that. I mean, Proud is insane. He was one of the, like, up-and-coming talents that we were really excited about last year. Lego and Simple, a very sturdy backline, and, of course, Valentine. And Peppy, not really needing any introduction himself, has always been a very strong Sigma player as long as we've known him in Contenders Korea this, you know, year and a half or so. And I mean, now it's in a meta where he can really shine on it.
It's actually almost fortuitous for PokerFace, right? Because they also have Muse sitting on the bench, who did play in most of the group stages. It must be highlighted, right? When Zarya was sort of the leading sort of idea And Peppy has now come into the playoffs, has become the starting tank player off that Sigma again, and has looked phenomenal, right? This has been an opportunity, as we've seen. If you can play the Sigma to a very, very high level, you're going to take your team very far. And Peppy is one of the few in this in Contenders career this season that I think is not just a standout on the character, but a genuine carry.
And then we swap things over. We take a look at XERO, a team with relatively little experience outside of their hit scan. Their exceedingly dominant hit scan. I mean, look, Kilo has always looked great, I would argue. Back in the Overwatch League, on the Shock, even though, you know, he split a lot of time on that roster. But back in Contenders Korea, Kilo has been insane. He would likely be if we had like a season MVP for it, he would likely be my front runner for it. The dude's Sojourn has looked not only unkillable, but also he'll just pop out of nowhere. Basically, every single time he uses his ult, it's 4 kills and a fight win.
Yeah. In fact, one of the things for XERO is that Midtown becomes basically unpickable against them because the fact that Kilo owns that map. If you go to Midtown, Kilo's getting 5.
That's what happened last time they played on Midtown, these two teams.
Well, and it happened in the last game as well, right? XERO, every game they've gone to Midtown, teams have taken XERO to Midtown, and it's like, why are you doing this? This is XERO's map, and Kilo has been a huge part of that. A player so good, in fact, the only knock I have against him this entire season is that he's so good. Sometimes he'll go to things that are suboptimal, just to give the opposing team an opportunity that will switch to the Sojourn, end the fight, win the map, just for a little bit of the theatrics, the drama, if you will. XERO not afraid of playing with their food every once in a while.
And the rest of this roster, while young, while technically inexperienced, is certainly nothing to mess around with. I mean, we look at JWoo especially. XERO's DPS are really killer. JWoo, guys, only, what, 16, I want to say.
Yeah.
I always forget if it's 15 or 16. I'm almost positive it's 16. Yes, 16. He turned 16 between our last 2 seasons, and the guy's Tracer is insane. It's unbelievable what he does on the Tracer. Some other solid picks as well. Genji comes to mind. And then Attack. Attack and Peppy, the 2 players I think of when it comes to Contenders Korea. You ask me, hey, who plays Sigma in Contenders Korea? Those are the 2 I would name. So what an unbelievable series we have ahead of us. It's all going to start on Ilios. XERO come in as the higher seed. Of course, they won their group that PokerFace was in. Also, they have better map differential. Also, you know, they've earned it. So they select Ilios, the map that PokerFace started their series on a loss yesterday. So sensible pick.
Indeed. I mean, coming into this, obviously, map differential favors XERO by virtue of the fact that, you know, they haven't won or they haven't lost nearly as much. But I think one of the things here is that you need to get PokerFace off on a weak foot early, right? The one thing that you have going against you if you're XERO here is, yes, Kilo's kind of been there, done that, right? He was in a map 7 after all in the grand finals, right? He's been in that pressure situation before, but the rest of the team really hasn't. And you know, I think if you can get ahead of the pack early, get PokerFace sort of stumbling a little bit, then that's where XERO's opportunity lies. I think the longer this series drags on, the more you're looking for heroics from your DPS core, and realistically, again, you talked about JWoo being so young, a lot of that's going to fall on Kilo. So again, for XERO, come out the gate strong. You want to end this quick, you want to end this early, and don't give PokerFace an opportunity to get in the game.
How I've missed that, how I've missed LAN, and how I've missed these 2 teams. Out we go on to Ilios, and it looks like I was wrong. I shouldn't have opened my mouth, LaFawn. We're starting off with the Doomfist for XERO.
It's going to be an awkward setup. I think the big thing here is you need, XERO needs to be quick. JWoo has to get in the thick of things. Kilo's played a little bit of Sombra over the season. It hasn't looked terrific. He doesn't have that carry potential that the Sojourn really does. But it's going to be able to slow down an approach by PokerFace. PokerFace setting up on the point here. You expect the teleport, then you expect Proud to set up with the artillery form and pressure Attack as he tries to come in.
It's really hard for XERO's composition to siege this. They need to find somebody who's just a hair out of position and blow them up. That's not a bad start. Valentine down as PokerFace TP away from the objective as well. Poor timing for PokerFace because now, yeah, look, JWoo and Kilo just sit there and let Attack keep PokerFace away. Now PokerFace have the unenviable task of trying to step up. Simple really low, and Crescent of all people finishes that off. Cost some Jwoo, but that's a worthwhile trade, honestly, especially since XERO have the objective. Oh, they can't lose attack. He gets away, but only for the moment.
The one thing here about PokerFace, or rather attack into PokerFace's composition, is that the Bastion does not have a really good time in that setup, right? Empowered block coupled with the punch to kind of sort of slow down the damage of the artillery or the transformation means that XERO can waste PokerFace's time. And now for PokerFace, it's all about making sure your ult rotation is solid. They'll get point back early though, and that's pretty rough for XERO.
EMP coming up though. Lego's got to be careful. That's got to be the saving grace. And Simple, once again, found a little bit. Does a good job of shutting down Kilo. Oh my word! Sent soaring are the supports! Not a chance in the world to live through that one. And XERO flip it right back.
A little bit of a celebratory captive sun there from Crescent, but the work was all done by Attack. This has been, Attack has been a player that has had a fairly narrow hero pool coming into this season, right? We've seen mostly Orisa from him, a little bit of Sigma in the games yesterday, and then of course a lot of Doomfist as well. He has made an impact on the playing field early in this first map.
And that didn't even cost the EMP. Now the Amp Matrix to try and open things up, but nobody's peeking their head out. So PokerFace, they'll just TP to the point, flipping back and forth, keeping the percentage close between these two. Like, oh no, you can't die. Now there's no one to counter the EMP, so Kilo has to be the target. He's sent packing for the moment. But Peppy, how long can he survive on this objective? I mean, you're so low now, and there goes... Oh, no, Simple's still hanging around, actually. Artillery strike dealing a good bit of damage. This is an interesting choice for a duplicate, but it makes it hard for PokerFace to get back on the point. They'll have to use the sound barrier, and Valentine's still very low. Can he finish off Attack? Just barely.
This has been so back and forth overall.
This is the scrap I want to see. This is how you start a grand final.
Yeah, XERO expend a lot in that fight, though. They still don't have an opportunity to bring the EMP out. And, without the sound barrier, it's a little bit easier, but follow-up damage is going to be critical. You expect to see the photon barrier used, I would expect after the EMP, actually. You're not going to catch everybody. Look at the high ground setup here from PokerFace. So smart, trying to avoid the line of sight of Kilo.
Attack trying to pressure the objective. Nice accretion there. Already the power block used in Attack. He doesn't really have a way to get onto anyone here. Has to be pretty careful. At least one of his healers has a good angle onto him. Valentine just annihilated by Kilo. Now he's just waltzing to the objective to throw an EMP onto it. Lego's the target, but gets into the immortality field. Fortunately, Simple not so lucky. Once again, Attack has his number, and an immortality field from XERO keeps their tank alive and gets them the objective right as PokerFace hit 99.
Kilo sometimes will just out-mechanics you, and that is what happens that last fight. The Sombra assassinates, despite being scouted, by the way. That was actually a really good play by Valentine, but Kilo comes in with the one clip assisted by the supports in the backline. And, PokerFace, they don't get that photon barrier down. They don't have the defensive utility, and it's just cleanup for Attack in the meanwhile. Now, it still favors PokerFace here. The photon barrier out. This Captive Sun going to be tough to actually find value with.
Ooh, a bit of a split, though. Captive Sun gets Lego. Simple wasn't in range to actually keep his support alive. No chance to throw the immortality field, and Proud isolated too. The flips come through for PokerFace, but they're bleeding players left and right, and with a duplicate, Jwoo's got this point on lock. XERO, all they have to do is get rid of a couple stragglers here. This feels inevitable for them to take this first round.
Simple will get one for his trouble. It's not over and done yet. But no, that'll be a little
annoying. Artillery strike completely dodged though, and that pretty much wears away any chance of PokerFace to flip this. But 99 to 90, or 99 to 100, I should say. What a way to start.
Very, very close for XERO. Playing around their win conditions, right? Even as PokerFace tries to set up on the objective, right? They play it sort of a rush style where they just flip the point back and forth, expecting to be able to hold stably with Peppy on the Sigma. Attack does not give them the opportunity to do so at all. Multiple environmental eliminations with the punch, the empowered punch. That's the devastating combo, right? The double-edged sword of the Bastion into the Doomfist is if you can burst down or hit the accretion on the power block, the Doomfist is dead. But you're playing with fire because the longer he's sticking around, the more likely the empowered punch is going to come up and Attack punches them for it. Now we head into for our second phase. XERO. This is not a surprise from them. Attack has played a ton of Orisa this season, even when, Sigma has kind of been at the forefront. So we saw what they were able to do in their first control map yesterday on Busan. see if they can replicate the magic with the Orisa.
Now, the last time
Ilios.
these two teams played, this composition matchup, the Orisa with the Echo into the Sim Bastion Sigma composition, this was where XERO lost a little bit of momentum early on in the series. It was on Lijiang, and XERO couldn't quite figure out how to disrupt the Poker Face teleports. Poker Face were able to get on a lot of vulnerable members, and XERO weren't prepared for that. It's been over a week since that match, though, so XERO a lot of time to work through. And this is a very different map than Lijiang Tower. Right now, both teams really just taking pot shots at each other, scratching to see where our weakness might lie. Crescent for Proud, I mean, honestly, normally you'd prefer support, but with Proud being such a damage lifter for Poker Face, it wouldn't have been a terrible trade had Jaewoo not fallen immediately after. Now it feels like XERO are going to start bleeding off this objective, especially now that Peppy gets healed on up and attack, completely surrounded. Not much percent for XERO when Poker Face get this flip.
We're Proud, not able to play the game multiple fights in a row, but Simple is the hero in that setup. Being able to build the amplification matrix that quickly and set it down not effectively as well, so your team can actually deal damage through it, is what gives Poker Face the opportunity to take that fight. Now, I mean, EMP setup, I think you're going to try solo Simple.
There's no way you read that EMP. Of course he gets Simple there. Simple out in the open, too. The rest of Poker Face was still hanging around in the mini pack room. I mean, the Ant Matrix is out. It's hard for that to do anything against the Photon Barrier, but a trade of those ults, not awful, especially since Poker Face actually used the Sound Barrier too. Poker Face using everything, but XERO just sidestepped them, say, hey, we'll give you another 5-10%. Simple getting spawn camped. Is he even going to be able to make it here? No, Kilo has his number. You know, with attack on the Rampage too, XERO doing mighty fine.
I mean, Kilo, what can we say? Takes the game over sometimes. That Sound Barrier was used, by the way, because Simple was killed in that first fight with that solo EMP. You needed the sustain to try and keep the fight going in your favor. Kilo just makes it multiple rounds in a row where Simple, walking back from spawn, not much you can do, and no one from Poker Face able to help. Here in this next setup, though, you're looking at the Captive Sun once more. And for Poker Face, it's the combo. Artillery Strike, Gravitic Flux. This can just ruin teams' days.
How are you going to do that, though, if Proud keeps getting farmed by Kilo? We talked about the dude Sombra at the top of the day. Is like, oh, you know, it's not as good as a soldier. It's getting there, I'll tell you that much, dude. He's absolutely monstrous right now. There's one of those TPs that that XERO rather struggled with, and they will lose Hyun to it, but a good counter too. Jaewoo an attack sweeping in to punish the overextension by Poker Face and keep control.
The one thing, of course, about losing Hyun in this composition for XERO is that you actually have two major healing sources, right? Crescent, more than capable of keeping up the slack while the rest of while they wait for Hyun to return. So it's a couple changes now for Poker Face. Proud trying to go over to Sojourn, a character he's well known for, but it might be a little too late as we're heading into final fight territory.
This is what Proud made his name on. But as his railgun charge depletes, he needs to try and get rid of Jaewoo or Kilo. A support pick wouldn't be bad either if he can find the right angle for it. But he's struggling to find much of anything, even to farm off of the Orisa right now. And look at these angles that Jaewoo and Kilo are pressuring into. Simple, once again isolated, has to use the Immortality Field just for himself. Overtime is triggered. Kilo's coming back with an EMP too. Terra Surge just for Valentine. That's brutal. And here comes the EMP. Here comes Kilo. It's quite a bit of damage. Peppy falls. And there's a duplicate from Jaewoo too. Poker Face, it won't start off here. Not for them. Instead, it's XERO going up to 1 in our grand final.
And what a confident statement here from XERO. Remember, that was that first map that they weren't able to take from Poker Face in the initial matchup that they had.
Control,
here,
yeah.
It felt like, especially on that second round, that the Orisa had solved the Sigma composition that Poker Face is trying to run. And, I mean, Sombra, what an impressive character in Kilo, playing her to perfection. Realistically, not letting multiple members of Poker Face even have an attempt at playing the video game, never mind having an effect on the outcome of the fight. What a start for the young upstarts, as they'll take that 1-0 lead here in our first 4.
Man, so many questions. XERO looks so strong. I mean, they've only played 4 maps in playoffs, so this is a bit of a skewed statistic, but they've yet to drop a map in playoffs either. Insane. Actually, the only map... No, they've dropped 4 maps. 1 to Poker Face, 1 to Panthera, and 2 to FM. That's all the maps that they've dropped this season.
Yeah, and keep in mind that FM matchup is a little bit skewed because that is a team that played against them right in the WDG Open. So they would have had a lot more opportunities to kind of see what the team is capable of. And of course, I mean, XERO has just been a force to be reckoned with ever since they walked into the actual competition. I mean, we've talked about Kilo so much, but let's take a moment to highlight his DPS duo as well. Jewu.
Certainly.
I mean, at the top of the show, we mentioned how good a Tracer he was, how good his Pocket Genji is. The Echo is looking fantastic as well.
That's not bad.
I mean, this is a player who very young. First of all, I think 16 years old, right?
16.
So young. But is one of the new wave of flex DPS players that has it all, right? Has everything.
Sure.
Jewu also has a pretty solid hit scan repertoire, given the opportunity. Just you're not going to start over Kilo on that one, so you can kind of dial in your flex DPS, and he's looked tremendous. He's looked amazing, and it feels like XERO as a team are actually starting to kind of dial in and perform as a unit. No player has really slacked off in this first map.
Yeah, an unbelievable start. Obviously, Poker Face, they were going to start off maybe with a little bit of a rocky start here, right? It was XERO's map pick. They were able to sort of tailor their compositions. You could tell that both of those comps that were run on Ilios, both the Doomfist and the Orisa comp, right? XERO had been working pretty hard at those.
Yeah.
XERO have been reading into what Poker Face plays, and that's another concern I'll have for Poker Face over the course of this series. We've seen pretty much solely the Sigma composition from them. Now, granted, we've seen many different Sigma compositions in terms of supports and DPS that are paired with it, but it's always been that Sigma. And when you have the Sigma and usually the Bastion, there's going to be a similar style, a similar tempo that you can read into when it comes to how Peppy is going to be playing. So XERO, they've done their homework and they've earned a solid start in this series.
And I mean, not to make things seem like absolutely dire for Poker Face. Remember, it's
one map.
It's a first to 4 as well, right? So there's a lot more.
They got time.
And in their semifinal match against Dreamers, same kind of rotation starting in terms of the maps. They were slow to start. It really took them until the third map to actually show up in any meaningful sense. So. Again, for XERO, this is a good start for them, right? They've clearly adapted from the last time they saw Poker Face. They've made changes. They look better. But again, it is going to come down to the longevity of the performance in the later stages of this game that I'm really concerned for XERO. So at the moment, It's a good start. They find victory where they needed to. Can they continue that moving forward as they to just keep the maps rolling in their favor and prevent Poker Face from getting back into it?
Yeah, and keep in mind, it is loser picks as well. So now Poker Face will have a chance to tailor the next map to a style that suits them a little bit more. Maybe move to a map where the Sigma mirror is more likely, or at least they can get the Orisa or the Doomfist away here as we head on to map number 2. It is hybrid for our second map. As you can see, again, first to 4 here. So after our typical 5, if we go past 5 and we get that escort, then we get another control map and then another escort map. So I'm control already a decent start for XERO. I'm really eyeing that escort map if we can make it there for Poker Face to take hold of and show that they can have a chance to pull the series in their direction. Again, it's really early in the series. They got plenty of time to figure things out.
Yeah, something interesting to note too is that we highlighted the positives for XERO. They haven't lost a ton of maps. They also haven't gotten a lot of game time on on maps past push, right? So
sure,
that is also going to be something to account for. Poker Face will have at least had an opportunity to play in those setups. As we load into map number 2 here, hybrid as highlighted.
Yeah,
and I think, man, the interesting thing is Poker Face were in a similar position yesterday against Dreamers, where losers select, so they took us to hybrid. It feels like they really like a certain style of map. I expect, again, we only have 3 maps in our map pool for hybrid, that being Blizzard World, Kings Row, and Midtown.
Surely we don't go to Midtown.
Yeah.
If Poker Face pick Midtown, I might just throw my microphone at my camera. Please don't go to Midtown. That is Kilo's playground. We are going to see what it is. Drum roll, please. You never give me a drum roll when I ask for it.
Oh.
It's Kings Row for our map number 2. Okay. I mean, it's not Midtown, so my equipment can stay intact. But this is the map that PokerFace got full held on yesterday.
Yes, they did get. It was. I will give PokerFace a little bit of sort of saving grace from that last game. It was just a really well-timed reset recontest.
Sure.
They nearly caught point A, but got caught out by the Dreamers recontest. So, I think PokerFace are going to try and play a much more aggressive style here. Keep in mind, though, Dreamers also played a near mirror to them, right? It was the Sigma most of the time in that setup. Here, there is an opportunity for change to come through, right? XERO's not locked into any singular comp. We know, based on gameplay that we've seen, in the playoffs, that they have 3 main rotations they like to go through. One is that Doomfist composition, which is unlikely to be seen here. Doomfist does not have a ton of value. You're not going to get environmental kills here. You're not really going to have...
Maybe you see it a little bit on first point attack.
Maybe. But then they also have the Sigma compositions. They can mirror. And then, of course, they have the Orisa setup, which was a really interesting look from them in that first map. Does not play similar to the last game.
Sure. XERO will be loading out onto the defense first. Sigma to start for them. And the mirror by PokerFace. Kilo over onto the Ashe as well. Ashe is obviously very playable. It is Kings Row first. We all know this.
And Kilo, historically known for his Ashe, actually.
Very true.
Okay, there's that teleport. PokerFace, this is going to be the comp that they got here on this comp. They're going to either win or lose on this comp here. There's no change up so far.
And it's going to be a little bit of a slow start here. They're going to rotate, take high ground, and try to drop onto the objective. Split XERO off a little bit here.
Actually, big thing you want to chase out is Kilo, right? You don't want to give the Ashe good sight lines. They actually take Kilo out of the window, and so make a soft rotation back so they can get closer and give Proud an opportunity to get into that turret form.
Yeah, interesting stuff to start. Peppy dipping his Sigma grippers onto the objective here. And Attack actually trying to force this high ground, trying to combat it, but Jaywu is not able to find that same angle, so there's not much Attack can do here. Nice accretion at least buffers some of that assault configuration. And because Attack is pretty much right under PokerFace, they don't have a good angle onto him. Now they do, though. Here comes the Ant Matrix 2. Configuration assault at the ready. No one peeking their head out, but that does mean that PokerFace get their first tick. Now the question is how do PokerFace keep this momentum? Peppy trying to just push straight into the backline. Here comes some of his teammates to help him out, but it's a trade onto Lego. I mean, Lego will be back much quicker than Kilo, so if PokerFace can get some momentum now, that will, in the long run, help them out. But they've lost Proud, and that's most of the damage.
Oh, that's nice. Actually, split up too is simple. Gets back to his team now, so he's actually back into the thick of things. They're trying to rotate for the high ground quickly.
Ooh, Gravitic Flux. It only catches one. The
Valentine
used, but Valentine, his supports were dealing with that, and Jaywu even gets the stick. This is what I was talking about with this kid's Tracer. He's just nasty with it.
And PokerFace have wasted their own time in this one. I mean, trying to play a little too cute, a little too fancy.
Peppy's stuck here, too. I mean, eventually the Sim TP might be able to bail him out, but you can see XERO, they don't want to let PokerFace get an angle where they can escape. Unfortunately, there's not much they can really do about that. And Kilo gets dropped on and squashed like a Goomba. Hyun only barely surviving. That's a nice Captive Sun. Oh, the splash damage. So brutal.
And not able to bring out the immortality field in time either is simple. So everyone just dies to it. And what should have been just a straight up one fight for PokerFace off that pick off on Kilo is now a much more contentious thing. Jaywu will go down, but it means that PokerFace are gonna have to use ult. Lego dies before the sound barrier.
Oh, and at least the photon barrier is up now, so still good defense here for PokerFace as they get themselves a second tick. Artillery strike corners Hyun, but he survives just barely in the hotel and gets his way out of there. Attack low on the objective. The pressure has to be on him, and you gotta go now. PokerFace, they roll over the enemy tank, and now they can start to snowball. Yesterday they were full held, and today it takes them a lot of their time, but they get that payload moving.
So unbelievably expensive. from PokerFace. Again, you know, you look at what Zero's bringing to the table, right? The fact that a Captive Sun wins out a fight on its own is incredible. PokerFace, in response, have to use a sound barrier, have to use the artillery strike as well. Zero make a couple of quick changes into the Sombra. I don't know the thing here about the Sombra in this one, right, where it's able to, where on Ilios was able to take a lot of isolated duels and sort of take down single targets. Here's where I think Kilo's going to actually struggle, because there's going to be, while there is a two-man hit squad with Jaywu is going to be marked a lot more closely than he was on the first map, because again, no verticality for Tracer compared to the Echo.
The pathing here can be very difficult too. You can see Attack actually trying to go back around and assist Kilo with pressure on the backline, but that gives so much cart progress over to PokerFace. They haven't even really taken a full fight yet, and PokerFace are already most of the way through the second objective. Gravitic Flux used 2, and Hyun, I mean, he doesn't even have to hit the ground. He's dead before. Attack now taking a lot of damage from Valentine, who is rightfully pocketed. A desperate Captive Sun thrown in, but a Sigma Shield gets rid of a lot of that damage. Not much that Zero are able to do to slow down PokerFace.
And all the while that fight's happening, by the way, the payload is moving.
Yeah.
So that is even more awkward for Zero. They are going to try and contest, but I mean, it's not going to be a wholesale setup.
Ooh, Kilo at least had an immortality field for a moment, but eventually has to translocate away. Pulse Bomb this time, no dice for Jaywu. And Hyun's just taking too much damage. Lego gives him a slap across the face to send him and likely the rest of Zero packing on this second point. Yeah, they can't even contest it. They just have to flee.
The capture comes in midway through that. Again, both three defensive utilities forced early. The translocator from Kilo, then the recall from Jaywu, of course, the immortality field as well. Here's that verticality I was talking about, by the way. Jaywu moves over to the Echo. Just needs to be a little bit more of a nuisance. Can't be, you know, pathed out by the shield, essentially, of Peppy.
Attack's rotations have been so unorthodox this map. There's a Gravitic Flux, does hit a couple, and a nice EMP prevents an immortality field, or at least a good one. Eventually it's thrown in, but it won't save Proud. And with Proud done, again, that your Bastion's most of your damage, so Photon Barrier is used, sure, but the simple isolate, and he just barely survives. That gives PokerFace a quick recontest.
I mean, that's the timing of the EMP as well, right? It breaks down that shield so quickly. And that's what, I mean, just a good heads-up play by Kilo there. Here's where you need to make up time for Zero after how quick that second point was.
Yeah.
I mean, PokerFace, a real thing here is that you can just kind of dump resources into this fight and then try and play for the capture with the Gravitic Flux.
Oh man, Attack already used so much. He doesn't have a kinetic grasp right now. The pocket is just enough for a moment, but eventually he'll be torn down. Jaywu, no, his duplicate doesn't get much either. He's focused down by Valentine. PokerFace, as long as they keep Proud alive, they should be good to make a push for this final stretch. Captive Sun thrown in, Ant Matrix 2 in desperation, but Hyun's not able to do anything with it. The Captive Sun largely whiffs, and Crescent flies into the backline to try and get a pick. Eventually, Kilo, Jaywu getting stuff done. That's enough, I think. Eventually, PokerFace are going to lose out on the respawns here. Valentine just doesn't have enough damage by himself. Kilo stepping around on the objective. He will fall, though. Hyun's not able to stay there long. He didn't have his Suzu up. Crescent comes out with an anti, and that gives Jaywu just enough space to get rid of a couple more members. But PokerFace, they're still trying to fight this.
Nah, this is where PokerFace is losing their own game. That other kill, though.
Oh, EMP has to be used, and Peppy just shrugs it off. 37 seconds on the clock as PokerFace refused to not cap then and there.
What an unbelievable mechanical showcase there from Peppy. Literally perfect hyper spheres from the Sigma to get that elimination. If that second one misses, that is the hold coming through. But it all starts off with a play from Valentine and Critically Simple, who at times in the previous matches in the playoffs has perhaps been a little too aggressive with the Baptiste. Here, literally perfect with the immortality field to keep himself and Valentine alive, to get those trades in, and just suboptimal resource use case by Zero. And PokerFace will complete the map. Considering that was nearly a full hold on first, to go all the way to a full cap with time remaining, impressive stuff from PokerFace.
especially after they got full held yesterday. All right, guys. Yeah, we fixed it. All right, cool. Kings Row, good pick by us. Pat on the back for yourselves, Poker Face. But the job ain't done quite yet.
That second point was so strong from Poker Face. Actually, that's where they recovered a lot of
it
their...
was a snowball. I'm very much questioning how XERO approached some of those defensive fights.
Yeah.
It felt like they were trying to reinvent the wheel, right? Get a little too crafty with it.
I think here we're going to just go back to seeing the somber composition. Somber Echo, specifically.
For first point, I think that works pretty well.
The other thing, too, is like... I mean, we've been talking Kilo and Jaewoo up, but they are a dynamic duo. When they're running the somber composition, they need to work together. And unfortunately, the Tracer there's not enough. It's too easy to force the Tracer to take bad duels. And the somber
especially with this comp, right? I mean, Proud just has to look at Jaewoo ever, and that's annoying. Same with Valentine. Peppy gets a lot of splash damage. It makes Jaewoo's life really difficult on the Tracer, but that's not going to stop him. He actually goes over to it. Didn't like what he saw on the defense for running the Echo. Already had to recall, though, and now is a bit vulnerable. Oh, Proud. He lasers away the enemy Tracer.
No, I mean you have to reset here if you're XERO. A lot of your damage comes in from an early setup by your DPS. They're holding space here, but this may actually end up being costly for them.
XERO a bit scattered right now, too. I mean, Attack was trying to get the high ground, but Crescent was surviving a teleport play that Poker Face went for. Excellent stuff. Poker Face are really keeping XERO's minds all over the place. They're fighting a war on 30 fronts.
And again, this is where... I mean, we've seen this composition work. We've seen the Somber Tracer work. But Poker Face have made an adaptation since map number 1, right? This has been a case of just don't allow the DPS to set up together. And there it is, right? The Translocator force from Kilo. Jaewoo is now in isolated. Attack cannot stand with 2 feet. And now Poker Face, they hold space properly through Hotel. XERO has to work all over again to try and find a better place to stage from to make this fight happen.
And I mean, trying to just force the objective is so difficult. Amplification matrices traded, but look how Valentine and Proud can just slip through the Hotel and put pressure on the backline. Lego shouldn't be the one trying to go toe-to-toe with Attack, though, so that doesn't go great for Poker Face, and now they're a little easier to pin down, and they won't have a sound barrier for an upcoming EMP. They're teleporting away. They don't want to give Kilo time to set up, make him reposition over and over again. Look how he's under them. He wanted to EMP them earlier, but he'll be satisfied by waiting for the drop. Nice Terra Surge too. Valentine didn't stand a chance. Sound barrier eventually comes out, and Kilo's killed before the EMP. Chances ballooning for Poker Face, and the artillery strike gets rid of Attack. Now it's hard to stand on the objective, but not much damage for XERO, and not much staying power for them either. They're trying to sit here. Crescent good for 1. Here comes the assault mode. Oh no, Proud's not on the objective. Maybe he could have won that, but we'll never know.
What a scrappy fight. And that, I mean, Jaewoo steps up in a big way. If that Pulse Bomb stick doesn't come through, Peppy survives after the Gravitic Flux and is the one who would be able to hold down the objective, so Proud doesn't have to kind of dance around a corner. So, I mean, despite a ton of ults being sort of set forth in that last fight, the big one is Jaewoo closing out. Now, here comes the EMP play. Here's where it's actually easier to set up for the Tracer. You have natural high ground control. Of course, Kilo not able to be scouted by Poker Face. He should get a pretty good EMP here.
Well, I mean, if he walks on top of Simple, he'll get scouted. Unlucky positioning for him there, and now he has to spend some time setting that all back up again. That means that Poker Face can at least wear time off the clock. Reminder, if they get to 3rd before XERO, have 2-3 minutes remaining, they should be doing pretty all right. Attack trying to blitz forward, make up for the fact that they just lost Crescent, but after the Immortality Field expires, there's not much teeth to this right now.
The one thing is that they have a lot of time still, so it's not end of the world situation yet. You should not go for panic plays here if you're XERO. And they're holding ground. They're not giving up too much space. Nice teleporter.
This is cheeky. Oh, okay. I thought that was somebody in the air for a second. The health bar baited me, but no. Good work from XERO. They completely abscond out of the sightlines there. But Poker Face just buying more and more time. Still the photon barrier too. It's so hard to get rid of this Sigma composition. It's so defensive, so good at holding its ground. You really need this EMP to land. Finally, Kilo, he's gonna go for it. Looks for Proud, and Peppy gets 4 for his name. Beautifully done. The 2 main targets fall. and the rest of Poker Face is soon to follow.
Yeah, Poker Face are doing a great job of dying on cart, though, stalling out time, which means that there will likely be a recontest here at second, unless Zero plays a really aggressive setup where they run the Captive Sun into the Terror Surge, right? This is sort of, Zero has an avenue to make that play stop. I don't think they're going to take it, though. Again, that sound barrier is so critical to be able to stall out. So this is going to be an expensive fight for Poker Face, but one that they should end up winning just because of the wealth of resources they have at their name.
Even sound barrier can be a little bit tricky. If you get multiple instances of the Captive Sun triggering all at the same time, it's hard. Beautiful photon barrier! Oh my word, the follow-up's too late, but Simple still falls. Poker Face, they've played their best, but they're not out of the woods yet. Attack does die. That makes it hard to really push this cart forward. Yeah, I mean, look, Zero, they have to scatter to try and get health packs. And it means that they don't have enough right now, even with the pulse bomb. Jaewoo doing what he can, but there's no way he can 1v1 Peppy with that low health.
No, and I mean, it's 2v1 still, but the respawn should still end up favoring Poker Face. Surely,
Yeah,
surely it does.
Yeah. Kilo and Jaewoo, they made their best effort, but they just don't have enough.
I mean, still, that's so expensive for Poker Face. And now you set up with an amplification matrix, you know, sort of hovering at odds with each other. That buys time for Kilo to generate an EMP. This is last fight, though. And a must-win situation for Zero to keep this map going.
And no shortage of resources for Poker Face either. Not a bad hack. Oh, but the Ant Matrix just a sliver too late. Wow, the artillery strike canceled. That's cheeky. But Hyun, meanwhile, unfortunately had to 1v1 Valentine. Those are those teleports I was talking about. Poker Face pulling one over on Zero yet again. And with 16 seconds remaining, it feels like there's no chance.
I mean, it's a last-second reset here for Zero. They will get a touch, but attack has moved over to the Doomfist. This is not going to be a wholesale effort from them. Still, I mean, EMP follow-up damage is going to be tremendous.
Peppy falls. That's the most important pick to try and push this cart. It's last inch forward, but Proud on the high ground. Who could possibly contest him? He jumps down, though. That gives a little bit of an avenue to Zero, but they just don't have enough. Look how low. Jaewoo, Crescent, they don't have the health. The Moira, the Lucio, it's just not enough. And Poker Face will tie our series up 1-1.
Their map selection comes in clutch here. What a read from Poker Face from nearly being full held on first. They make their way, they make their time on second, get a clutch performance on third, and then absolutely lock out the streets phase of King's Row. I mean, what a read from Poker Face over and over. I mean, we were talking about the fact that the Tracer Sombra just not able to really get into position to find value. A lot of that based on the setup, on the defensive setup of Poker Face. They iced out the DPS carries of Zero and have equalized the series 1 apiece.
And honestly, you think about a lot of the DPS picks that Zero run, right? You know, not just the Tracer and the Sombra, but arguably the Sojourn, the Echo. They're all so positional. Excellent start for Poker Face. We got plenty more maps coming to you after a quick break. An excellent recovery for Poker Face. That's what I meant to say when we were going to the break just now. We are 1-1 after our first 2 maps. Not the half, because we're going first to 4 here in our grand finals. We have to send this season off with a bang. And these 2 teams are delivering thus far, LaFon.
And this is actually where I start to feel a little bit of concern for Zero heading into this. At the top of the show, I said they had to make their ground early in the series, right? You want to kind of give yourself buffer room to not let your more experienced opposition get online. Poker Face, remember, we're 1 map away from being eliminated against Dreamers, but we're able to kind of bring their way back. If Poker Face are able to recover much quicker, this ends up being a much closer look. And for Zero, you know, once we get to those later stages, I mean, you're thinking Escort, maybe not so much favored for them anymore. That's really where my concerns start to lie. So for Zero, this next map, which again is their map selection, we do have losers pick, it ends up being a must-win to keep themselves in the lead in the series.
And we do go into Flashpoint now. This is a map type where I believe historically... Oh, actually, no, I heard it backwards. Zero, this is the map type they've struggled the most on. Out of the 5 times they've played it, they've dropped it twice. I mean, you know, it's a sample size of 5, so you know, I'm not gonna write my thesis statement on it, but
the way they drop those maps is interesting to highlight, though, right?
Sure.
And it was the 2 maps they dropped were not close. They actually got solved in the approach on the maps that they ended up losing in terms of Flashpoint. The other thing too is that out of the 2 maps that we have, my expectation is that there's only really one you want to go to here, which is Surasa, and they've looked beatable on this map, right? I don't think you really want to go to New Junk City because you're going to have to run the Sigma, and in that head-to-head mirror, it feels like the advantage is in PokerFace's hands. So you want to go to Surasa where the Orisa is still a possibility, where the Doomfist is still a possibility, and try and sort of play counter to your opponent rather than sort of mirror them and try and just win out in a raw understanding of the composition.
Plenty of Zero fans in the audience. They want to see the tides turn back in Zero's favor. And I mean, I don't, obviously, again, long series. I don't want to say this has to be where Zero recovers, but I would certainly, based on what we've been seeing when it comes to Zero's DPS specifically, right? Jwoo and Kilo both feel more comfortable on maps where they can mess around with angles, right?
Yeah.
Where they can surround the enemy team, where they can find those cheeky off angles, those unorthodox positions where PokerFace can anticipate their play a little bit less.
And I mean,
XERO, hard to do that.
Well, here's the thing too.
Much better.
I was actually going to counter you in this one. I don't think Surasa is actually that good for the off angle setup.
Interesting.
Keep in mind, Flashpoint, unlike Control, finishes very quickly. The objectives get captured very quickly. You don't have time to have those setups come through. On Control, as long as one person is holding the objective, which is often going to be your tank, you have the opportunity to have your DPS set up and hold those off angles. Crescent can hold those off angles with the Iliari, right? Once you get to Flashpoint, it's a bit of a bait play. You think you have time to set up those off angles, and then all of a sudden, no, it's 90% on the Flashpoint, and you have to contest. And I think that's where Zero has struggled the most in the season. It's not that their style doesn't work, it's that they're not fast enough on this particular map type to do it consistently.
Yeah, speed is the name of the game here. And I mean, PokerFace, we know Lego will undoubtedly roll out on the Lucio here. I mean, that just makes sense for them. Zero, it's a little bit, I don't want to say difficult for them to run the Lucio. They can obviously play it, but we know Lego is not only going to play the Lucio, but is very comfortable on it. I mean, I would argue that's the character we know Lego for the best is Lucio. Yeah. Whereas Crescent and Yan, they're more of those they prefer those double flex supports, right? Like we see a lot of the Iliari, a lot of the Baptiste, and it doesn't go on Lucio much for them. And you and I, LaFawn, have talked about this a lot. We were talking about it at the grand finals for Overwatch League last week. I'm personally rarely a fan of compositions without a Lucio on Flashpoint maps just because of that tempo that you were talking about, of how quick these points go. You get an extra fight and a half sometimes if you're running a really high tempo composition.
Yeah. And I mean, no surprises to where we're going. Surasa is...
Yeah, this is what we anticipate.
Out of 100 opportunities to guess which map, I would pick Surasa all the time. Even accounting, even knowing what the rules of probability are, I would still pick Surasa 100 times. But yeah, no, talking about that Lucio, there is clearly an understanding here that the Sigma composition is the most consistently high-level composition in this current patch now, right?
Sure.
After, the Overwatch League, which split our season, by the way, right? We had group stages, most of playoffs, or some level of playoffs, and then we saw the grand finals in the Overwatch League, and now we come into the rest of the bracket play. What this has allowed is that while prior there was experimentation, now we know there is counters to the Sigma composition. There are counters to the Sigma composition, but unfortunately, they require a level of coordination that is hard to come by. In fact, only two teams have been able to do it full stop.
Zero would rather just run their own, a much slower version of the Sigma, but with some pretty fast DPS. So, I mean, we worry about Kilo Jwoo. Will they be able to set up? They're already on these off angles. They're already prodding at PokerFace's side. And that gives Attack an opening for an excellent start. I mean, Lego down. You're only relying on the TP, and Attack again reads it. I love that he's decided to finally mirror the Sigma. Attack, like we were saying earlier in this series, He's an excellent Sigma player in his own right, and he's going to take it to Peppy.
That's a tremendous setup from PokerFace, but for XERO, or sorry, it's a tremendous setup from XERO, but from PokerFace rather, the fact that you have 2 uncontested pickoffs with just spam damage against a Sombra Tracer is going to be something they have to fix very quickly. We've seen this particular issue crop up in their previous games, where chip damage comes in, it's never truly, dealt with properly, and that ends up being a pick that translates to their opponent being able to get value. So for PokerFace, they cannot allow that to happen again.
Kilo already battering at Valentine, just farming up that EMP. Not quite as quick of an EMP build as he had on map number 1. PokerFace teleporting straight onto the objective, past attack, and just dumpster Hyun. Not much of a chance for him. Luckily, though, XERO... Well, I was going to say they do have Crescent for heals, but it's not going to help attack. The flip comes through for PokerFace at 58%.
And here's where the Lucio starts to become an actual issue for XERO. PokerFace are going to take an aggressive angle just to, again, they don't have the way to bypass this front line, right? No Lucio to speed around, no teleporter, so it's just your GPS who are going to get into position. But for PokerFace, because they know they're at an ult disadvantage, they have to find a way to gain an advantage elsewhere. And a lot of that is going to be by preventing attack and the backline from getting in freely.
Already the Pulse Bomb not doing XERO any favors. Jaewoo puts it into a pillar. And PokerFace really keeping XERO out. I mean, now the ults are coming up. Oh, that's a nice accretion. Attack just barely surviving, trying to throw the gravitic flux in, and with the captive sun to boot, that's a lot of damage. PokerFace completely unprepared for. Back and forth to start us off. Echoes of our first round of control.
Still, this is so slow from PokerFace. It's last fight, or rather, so slow from XERO. It's last fight for PokerFace. And what that means is that XERO is going to actually have to spend to prevent PokerFace from even contesting, right? So an aggressive setup. I expect the EMP to come out from Kilo. They scout Jaewoo. This is so bad, actually.
That's really nice.
Oh,
Jaewoo manages to skirt most of the damage, though. Lego caught. He just barely gets into the TP. I thought it was going to run out, but that's the immortality field already used. The sound barrier has to be the name of the game here for PokerFace. They get the flip. XERO just give it over to them because they want to set up the EMP. Crowd didn't stand a chance. Now here comes Jaewoo in for some cleanup. Gravitic Flux, is that the answer? Just trying to get rid of the enemy. Sigma attack ever so low. No immortality field for him. Jaewoo doing the best he can. A Pulse Bomb puts down Valentine, and now he needs to go to work on the rest of PokerFace. But without attack there, with Kilo so low, and Hyun, I mean, how long can Hyun skirt the edge of this fight? He actually walks on top of Peppy and gets that one? Wow, that's insane. And it means XERO flipped this back, and they're going to get the first point.
Tremendous stuff there from XERO. Actually, the big pickup there is Jaewoo and Hyun. The two of them are what turned the fight in XERO's favor. I mean, Jaewoo, there are going to be so many accolades about this player in the future, right? Just clutch after clutch after clutch. And then in the effect, I mean, this is going to end up being PokerFace taking the first objective, or first capture on the objective. But Hyun in that last fight as well, being able to win a duel against Peppy, I mean, in close quarters. It's just raw mechanics from the Baptiste and incredible stuff.
Yeah, and Hyun down. I mean, now there's absolutely no chance. Attack is even swapped back to the Sigma. Goes, guys, the Doomfist was fun, but I really just wanted to play it for the overtime fight. Now to go back to something a little bit more stable.
Still hovering around the outskirts though, XERO. PokerFace not able to take down those eliminations early. This is actually a window for a first, or early fight rather, on the contest. And I mean, you're looking at EMP building up very quickly too. PokerFace not much in their back pocket. This is going to be a rough fight for them.
Peppy already pretty low too. Captive Sun chucked in. Did that actually tag Valentine? I don't think so. I mean, Pulse Bomb gets rid of the immortality field, but it's traded 1 for 1. XERO, do they have a way in with this EMP? Can Kilo find the timing? He's trying to run his way over, but attack has already been run down, and no, he's got to save it for the next fight. They'll get one more here.
This is going to be a tough one for them too, because this is the last fight was where they had the advantage, right? Where they have the Captive Sun, they have the Ant-Mate, or the EMP rather. Now, I mean, PokerFace simple farms up the Ant-Matrix so quickly that they can't push in, and now the ult advantage is back on PokerFace's side. And this is last fight territory as well, right? I mean, you're looking at this, it's going to be an EMP that should theoretically be countered by the sound barrier here. Lego playing very safely. It's tough. It's a tough fight for Zero.
Can EMP plus Ant Matrix make the difference? Or do you just lay it on Lego's head? Crush him into the dirt. Attack has to live. Attack has to live for this gambit to be worth it. And now that he's survived, no, nobody touched. Oh, Zero, they had it. Oh.
It wouldn't be a grand finals. It would not be a grand finals without at least one C9.
Had to squeeze one more into the season.
Such a good play, too, from Zero, but alas, actually, the problem, too, is because that play was so good, but they lose it, they're going to lose this next fight as well. They just don't have anything.
Yeah, that's tough. Gravitic Flux is not going to be enough. Not with, I mean, maybe you just insta-kill Lego again. Kilo's looking for him.
I suppose that is a play. It's not a very good one because you have to be in such an awkward setup, right? Because it means you have to worry about the accretion as well from Peppy. Then they have first point control. This is just a rough fight from Zero. It's about PokerFace not overspending right now.
Zero know it too, right? Like they're even struggling to step up to the objective here. Jwoo scared of the accretion, forced to recall just out of fear. And now here comes the TP. Here comes the blitz onto the backline. Hyun attack. They're both the targets. An attack, and both of them will fall, actually. A brief flip back, an attempt from Jwoo. And Valentine does waltz into the pulse bomb, but that doesn't really help Zero's chances.
Still, I mean, this is going to give them an opportunity to get back in, right? They're still contesting.
A little bit of percent.
All right, slow things down here. Oh, they scout Kilo. That's pretty tough. Is he dead? No, he gets what? No way.
What?
No
He gets
way.
Lego? Hello?
Oh, no.
Please, please! You have to finish him off! He gets around the corner, he dodges the accretion, and here comes a Gravitic Flux! No chance for Peppy. I mean, you know, maybe the ult wasn't necessary there, but against Zero, back in the door so quick.
Oh, my word. What that is a fumble from PokerFace if I ever saw one. That should have been a done deal. There's no reason they should have lost this fight.
And now, I mean, the EMP is going to be up. The
Here's the thing,
too.
I mean, the shoe is literally on the other foot, right? We were talking about Zero having nothing economically. PokerFace invest incorrectly in that last fight, and now they have nothing. Zero are back in the lead, both on the point and in the economic setup.
Whoa, I thought Kilo was going to go for it. I thought he was. So did Crescent, apparently. Captive Sun gets eaten, gobbled up by Peppy. That's a very warm meal, but one he will gladly take. An Ant Matrix, I don't love the angle on that. The Proud just holding on to the assault configuration. Doesn't even waste it with just the threat of that combo is enough to keep Zero back. And with Jwoo falling, they have to give up the point.
I mean, they're still in last fight though, right? This is still pretty decent. And as long as no one on Zero gets picked off, they're just waiting for Jwoo to return so they can actually get a fight going.
Yeah.
I mean, it all rides on Lego, right? He cannot die first again.
Okay, Crescent gets out of that. I was a little bit worried if he gets hit with that accretion, but it's fine.
Oh no, poor Lego.
Kilo. Dude, this is cyberbullying. Literally, Sombra has Lego's IP address. Oh no. Kilo getting away from Proud too. That was the assault configuration. That was a lot of the damage. Valentine, you got to step up to the plate here, buddy. What are you made of? Can you get onto the back line? No, you can't do it before Peppy falls. And it won't be enough.
That's it.
Zero, take the lead and are one set away, one objective away from taking this third map.
Well, that's one way to entirely nullify the speed advantage of PokerFace.
Lego gets his revenge.
Simply don't let Lego play the game.
It's rude.
Oh no, and now PokerFace make a change here to the Sojourn. Categorically, Sojourn.
Kilo will match. Wait. PokerFace may have just activated Kilo's trap card. It's like, oh, all right, you want to play the Sojourn? I'll take that mirror. Kilo, if there's ever anyone confident on the Sojourn, it would have to be him. Doesn't even need the railgun there. Here comes the Gravitic Flux 2 from attack. That forces the sound barrier. Now PokerFace, they are quickly running out of tools to stand with. At least they get a brief cap on the objective, and Proud instantly off the Sojourn. He'll come back on the Bastion. PokerFace holding on best they can. Pulse bomb in the pocket. Jwoo, did he find a target? Oh, I don't think that lands. But Valentine still falls as the supports of PokerFace were just under too much pressure. Eventually, they'll be worn down, and Zero will take control.
Okay, Proud. That actually ends up being an interesting adaptation from PokerFace. They get that the switch onto the Sojourn. Because they get first percentage on the point, that ends up being a pretty masterful gambit. Because now Kilo is in an awkward setup, right? The Sojourn is not as good at dealing with the Bastion as the Sombra is. And certainly Lego can actually, well, has an opportunity at the very least to play the.
Well, you say that, but the overclock's nearly online. I haven't seen an overclock from Kilo this season where he didn't get at least 2. Here comes a Gravitic Flux. That's a beautiful Captive Sun. Oh, so much damage, and Valentine had no way of absorbing it. Crowd does dunk on Kilo right as the overclock pops, so maybe a chance if they can get rid of just one more. XERO trying to weather the storm. They still have percentage ticking up all this time. Jwoo waiting for this health pack. Okay, he regroups with his team. And Ant Matrix up here too. Look, Kilo swapped back over to the Sombra. They're dancing around now. Oh, but here, Hyun, yeah, he trips over his own feet there.
But they still lose Peppy. This is actually really bad. Somebody's down the objective as well as we head into overtime.
Take this now? Look, Valentine has to be the one to stand on it. Artillery used just to flush out Jwoo. At least Simple takes advantage of the recall, so the Tracer does fall away. Attack with a Gravitic Flux, though. Soundberry, nice counteraction by Lego, and there's the flip finally in for PokerFace as XERO fall back.
I mean, still, PokerFace are not out of the woods yet. They don't have anything to actually set this in progress for themselves. And again, we've seen what that combo of Jwoo and Kilo can do when they actually find space.
Crescent has learned the telltale signs of the TP. Eventually he'll fall, but at least he pulled Jwoo over to help him get rid of Valentine. Now PokerFace, they are much less mobile than they were a moment ago. Captive Sun is something XERO will sorely miss. Okay, Kilo survives.
Okay, there will be an overtime fight now. And actually, PokerFace, if PokerFace can get an elimination here, this will be the point to them in a fifth fight. They're taking so long to actually isolate any individual members.
Attack doing a good job of soaking up a lot of that damage. That configuration assault got nothing. Neither did the Captive Sun, though, and with attack falling, Peppy fine under the light of the lamp of the Immortality Field. PokerFace, they are undoubtedly going to tie up Surasa here. There's no way XERO can stay on this objective for very long. Nah, they're routed, and we get one more to see who takes the lead.
Unbelievable patience from PokerFace there. And actually, the critical turning point on that, or the turn fight on that point, is when Peppy and Proud were the last two standing, and able to, with Jwoo pressuring from an off angle, as the rest of XERO kind of surrounded them, able to stay alive to get that overtime fight continued. That's really where PokerFace, had the upper hand. Critically, they also don't overuse resources, so they're going to be able to come back in. Realistically, Jwoo has to be a hero with a Pulse Bomb.
Gardens is very difficult for XERO to try and take control of. EMP nearly up here, but how long can XERO play at the fringes of this fight? Ant Matrix to try and keep PokerFace off, but there's no way to turn the corner. Stepping onto the objective is too difficult. And with Kilo falling right before the EMP's unleashed, PokerFace easily capped first.
Really great.
Now they're pushing for more, actually. Okay. No. I understand the attempt, but with it whiffing field goal style there, XERO have to wait for Kilo.
Yeah, and this is where perhaps this is just trying to make too many plays if you're XERO. All right, PokerFace are more than content to allow XERO to beat themselves. Nice accretion stun too on attack.
Yeah, no, Gravitic Flux gets nothing there. Crowd does die, the EMP unleashed. And with the Bastion gone, PokerFace have to use the sound barrier. Everything, they're just dumping all their ults in. Crescent gone, but Peppy falls for the like. He was keeping the rest of XERO at bay. But now they have no one to keep XERO at bay any longer. Valentine's so low. Here comes Jwoo into the backline looking for Simple. Has to recall out of that, but doubles back into Valentine. And eventually XERO, it feels like they'll get this as long as they keep attack alive. Okay, they get it done.
I mean, considering the fact that fight was lost for so long, I mean, PokerFace forced final fight territory off of that, right? That is the big win for them. PokerFace have to win one more fight on this map to take the lead in the series. XERO fighting from behind. And I mean, XERO, the other thing too is they don't have a lot of pickoff attempts, right? It's just the Pulse Bomb, realistically, that is what they can hold down on an approach. It's going to go wide, way wide.
Yeah, not even close. Jwoo, so young, you have to wonder if nerves are starting to get to him. Such a contentious series. Nice Captive Sun. So much damage, but you need to finish off Simple there. Okay, attack will be the one to get it done. But that was a little bit more dicey than I think XERO were hoping for. And they briefly give it over, so now up to 99. No room for error for XERO.
And I mean, the fact that the point flips means that PokerFace are going to have 2 fight attempts, depending on how quick they make this one, right? If you're a Zero fan, though, you're looking at that, and PokerFace invested heavily. So I mean, in this particular one for Zero, drag out the time bank. Make sure that this is, in fact, the final setup. Don't allow PokerFace to recoup their losses. And, yeah, they're doing exactly that. This is perfect from Zero. Make this final fight.
Man, Crescent has really become adept at learning when he's about to get TP'd on top of. He's gotten out of those several times in a row now. Here comes a Gravitic Flux. A lot of damage thrown PokerFace's way. Ooh, and up over the top, from the top rope, slamming on down with a rock. Not quite a chair, but attack needs to live. Here comes the EMP. Simple in his sights. Kilo gets it done. And there's the follow-up from 0-2. Oh, it was all but done and dusted, but PokerFace, they couldn't convert. And Zero takes the lead.
The two captain clutch of this squad are the last two standing as well for Zero. Crescent and Jwoo, who win fights you really shouldn't, are the ones that close out that last one. I mean, what a setup from Kilo at the end, however. 10 HP, by the way, as he uses the solo EMP onto Simple. No fear from the player who's seeing the absolute pinnacle of what a grand finals can look like. And he's here to try and take a victory. And they take the lead again. Zero not allowing PokerFace to step forward in this opportunity.
What maniac plays from both sides. What insane plays. I mean, you think of all of those solo TPs where Valentine was trying to get into Crescent. Obviously, in that last fight, I really enjoyed attack. Just, hey, oh, I'm hiding behind the wall. I'm using it as cover. Psych, here I come from up above. A comet raining down on top of PokerFace. Oh my. Both these teams, they want to win so bad, LaFawn.
Trading haymakers as they were. And what plays from Zero?
That's a flying pile driver. Oh my. New Queen Street as our map number 4. I mean, hey, PokerFace, they get to select it. How do we feel about New Queen Street, LaFawn?
Oh man, I mean, for PokerFace, this is where they were able to keep Dreamers at bay yesterday, right? On New Queen Street, they really like this map. We've seen what they like to play. I mean, this is probably the most they've changed in the playoffs, right? In terms of their composition, and even that, not a whole lot. They tried to bait Zero away from that Sombra for a little bit. Kilo falls for it for a second. Puts Proud, he puts him back down. You're not quite there yet, right? And then once Proud is like, all right, I give up that gambit, back to the Sombra. They absolutely shut out.
Cool. I had to try it once this series, guys. I had to try it once, but I'm not staying on.
What a statement, by the way.
Not against Kilo, dude.
What a statement, by the way.
Oh yeah.
From the comes out on the Sojourn for literally one fight. Is like, no, this is my character, not yours.
I mean, Proud's still very young too,
Yeah.
right? Proud also 16.
Yeah.
By the way, some very young guns in this lobby. Kilo, though, with his experience again, has been to the very, very, very most stressful and grandest stage in Overwatch. He goes, no, come on. There was a lot of Sojourn last year too. Yeah, no. Kilo,
I mean, the highlight
indomitable there.
Right now, the highlight for me for Zero is how well they're playing under pressure, right? Keep in mind, very young roster, not a ton of stage experience. Outside of really Kilo and attack, no stage experience realistically. And it feels like for Crescent and Jwoo especially, it feels like they're old hands at this, right? That they've just playing the correct way. I mean, you highlighted the fact that Crescent, who's being targeted, by the way. It's not like Crescent is, just sort of playing by the wayside. Is being targeted with the TP plays. Still managed to read it, perfectly get away every time. The Captive Suns, which are so difficult to land against a Sigma and a Symmetra, getting value out of that consistently as well. Zero feel like old hands at this. I was worried for them that as the series went on, they would lose steam. It really feels like the opposite is the case, that Zero are just warming up to the team that we know them to actually be.
And I think you could see a little bit of nerves starting to set in, but I'm sure I will paint the picture of a story that I have no idea if it exists or not, but I'm sure Kilo, as experienced as he is, as at least some words to calm his team down, get their heads back in the game. Because, you know, Jwoo maybe looked shaky on a couple of those pulse bombs for a few fights. But again, that's just because we expect so much of this guy, right? He's so good normally. So a couple of whiffs there had me concerned for a moment, but then he really shows up towards the end of Surasa. And now XERO have a lead in this series. Hey, I mean, 2 more. That's all they just need to double their map score.
I will also say though that this so far has been map selection as your win condition, right? Going to your maps, or the teams that have gone to the maps that they've selected have won them out, right?
Thus far.
Yeah. So this is XERO trying to flip that. If they can steal one of PokerFace's maps away, a map which PokerFace looked really good on, I might add, on yesterday against Dreamers. Then all of a sudden, this is looking like, well, maybe not quite so close after all. This is a turning point in the series, realistically.
Sure.
For this grand finals.
It could be, yeah. And I mean, the other side of that coin for PokerFace, right? They cannot afford to drop new Queen Street. They have to win it, and then they have to take one of XERO's maps. Keep in mind, I mean, you know, if we just keep trading map picks here, XERO started with the first map pick. That math does not favor PokerFace. Those are not good odds to sit down at the hold'em table with. Gotta try and play for some stronger hands, try and make some weaker ones work too. New Queen Street as our map number 4, as we just said. PokerFace, not only do they have to be solid here, but then we have to go to Escort and see something brilliant from them.
And looking at how the counter from XERO is sort of setting up, this is actually a map where I don't think it actually gets easier for PokerFace,
really.
right?
Not
Best of the
what
bad
we just
situations.
saw, with the Sigma mirror finally coming out for XERO, and with them winning on the Sigma mirror, this doesn't get any better.
Well, I mean, also that they were able to make a. I think you could see, because that was such a close flashpoint, right? It was 3-2, and it was a close 3-2 as well. It's not like, you know, every point was a blowout kind of thing. They were, you know, basically 9,900 most of the way. The other thing is that now you actually unleash. There's no real push map where this Sombra Tracer / Echo isn't viable in some way.
Oh, baited. At least we got the cheers out. All right, we won't have to try and squeeze the cheers into the 6 seconds we have beforehand.
Damn.
Just a quick pause here for sure. I mean, you know, we're back in the stage. You guys can't be. We had to have one pause here, guys. Well, you know, it's worth it for LAN.
1 C9, 1 pause. All right.
We're really hitting all the bases before we close out for the year. All we need is one map 7. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
I am interested to see XERO for this map, because it looked like, again, you know, it's spawns. It wasn't even like spawns with the people running around. So it's, you know, maybe early to talk about this, but since we have a pause anyways, it looked like Kilo was going to start off on that Sojourn. Right. Now, we did talk that the Sojourn potentially a little bit less viable into the Bastion, right? Which is what we obviously expect PokerFace to play. But also New Queen Street is such a good Sojourn map.
Yeah, it really is. And I think one of the things too is, like, because of all the off-angle high ground, it's about how well. So Kilo's not dueling Proud, right? Mm-hmm. If anything, Kilo is trying to take down the back line more than anything else.
Valentine would be a great Valentine, Simple, Lego. Any of those are very viable. Yeah.
So it's a war of attrition for PokerFace. How quickly can they win the fight before their supports die?
You're on a timer. Kilo can't be allowed to get a pick before you do, PokerFace. Already a solid positional start from them, though. They got the high ground here. It's great for Proud to set up on, and gives you some nice teleport angles too. Already attack just gets bowled over. Sure, Kilo does eventually find that pick. It's technically first too, but without your tank, how do you keep this fight?
So far, they're doing a good job of it, actually.
Oh, okay. I mean, if nobody heals Proud, then I guess you can try. Kilo and Crescent, not in ideal spots, but Hyun actually getting peppy there, and Crescent making this pretty scrappy. Jaewoo surviving. Can he get to a health pack? Oh, careful. Okay, he's got a healer behind him, actually. He doesn't need a health pack.
Yeah, he comes right there with him. And that's what I was talking about, by the way. It's not just Kilo that you have to be aware of. Jaewoo is the bigger threat. I mean, Kilo is the quote-unquote bigger threat because he's the one that is going to be in the thick of the fight more often. But if you spend too much attention on Kilo, Jaewoo absolutely will shred you.
And I mean, Jaewoo's already got a pulse bomb, one fight. Lego actually with almost a one-fight sound barrier. That's insane. The pulse bomb doesn't really get much, though. So XERO, they're going to have to try and fish themselves a different way to get this guy going again. Yep, I mean, that'll work. That'll do. Valentine down. Was he trying to TP through the train car? I feel like that's a little bit dubious. This is a really long angle. Guys, I don't support trying to push Kilo right now. Just leave him be.
Just leave him be is not going to be a great setup here. Oh, man, Kilo is sneaking into the back line.
You really got to be careful, too. There's so many angles that Kilo can approach from. And if I mean, the shield just isn't big enough to cover all of them, right? So all of PokerFace need to be keeping their heads down. Jaewoo's almost got another pulse bomb. He just used it 30 seconds ago. Kilo not able to get away from crowd, though. So PokerFace, good job pushing the issue. They'll use that early sound barrier and gain some momentum.
And actually, not a bad contest from PokerFace either, right? They give up a lot of space, yes, but considering how besieged they were on all angles, to only give up halfway to that checkpoint is pretty tremendous. It means that there is a window for them to contest or be able to take the lead in this next fight. And XERO, of course, used the Gravitic Flux. So now Kilo is going to have to run down sort of center lane with the overclock. And with the Photon Barrier, that is easier said than done.
Oh, that's not a good start for PokerFace, though. Pretty far from being able to contest this, too. Proud already. Yeah, no chance he's going to survive that. Jaewoo cleans it up easily. And that was no ults from XERO. They still got the Captive Sun and the Overclock in their hands, ready to go.
Yeah. Actually, you can't give up ground here either if you're PokerFace because that checkpoint is so lethal. I mean, getting first checkpoint control is realistically one of the markers of kind of, especially if you get it so far ahead of your opponent, is one of the markers of kind of closing out this map because you constantly have to win. It essentially adds an extra fight that your opponent has to win.
Ooh, I like this TP. That makes Crescent's life really annoying too with the Photon Barrier. Yeah, no chance to land that one. Good counter there, and a nice pick onto Kilo. Artillery tees that up, and PokerFace holds XERO back again. No checkpoint for them.
Actually, beyond that, they should take the lead off this fight with this super delayed setup onto the back line. Because I think, yeah, Crescent, there it is. That last death comes through. So PokerFace have a chance to contest for the checkpoint even, not just the lead.
Gotta be wary of Kilo's overclock, though. The last one he used got shut down instantly, so we didn't get to see him explode onto the map, but he has been deadly with them. His DPS duo not alive now either. It has to be Kilo to make the difference, and if he gets caught in a Gravitic Flux, that could spell the end of things. Valentine going a little bit too far forward. Nobody was teaming up with him on that one either. So now Crescent is sort of just farming and feasting. Maybe the overclock's not even necessary. And Ant Matrix to try and keep PokerFace stepping up to the objective. They have taken the lead a bit. Oh, Peppy stunned just out of the immortality field. Steps back to it, but it doesn't give him a safe haven for long.
Okay, now the shoe is on the other foot. If there's delayed staggers onto PokerFace this time, XERO should be able to take the lead. You see PokerFace all bunkering down in a corner here. They know they can't get out space, but no, Kilo walks in.
I mean, he slides right back to safety, and here comes a Gravitic Flux. XERO trying to keep the tempo, sliding down the map. They are barreling towards this, and even the overclock used. Maybe not the flashiest overclock we've seen from Kilo, but it gets the job done, and it gets XERO the checkpoint.
Yeah, that's tremendous here. They needed to win this fight cleanly because, again, you know, with that kind of staggered play, remember what I said earlier that this is getting the checkpoint significantly ahead of your opponent gives you so many more opportunities. This is much closer. This is not a guaranteed. Getting the checkpoint now is not a guaranteed fight win.
Ooh, nice Gravitic Flux there. Gets onto Hyun.
Oh, nice.
An attack completely annihilated. Hyun was too worried about the Gravitic Flux. He wasn't able to keep attack up. Kilo trying to get something done, and even the Captive Sun onto Peppy. It's quite a bit of damage, but a nice immortality field and good pocket from Simple up from behind. So no, nothing for XERO. They get the checkpoint, and they'll get a quick fight, though.
They, I mean, the problem is Poker Face invested so much in that. Or rather, Zero did. There's no reason
Zero
for...
did,
yeah, Zero. They used captive stuff. They were never going to win that fight after that early pickoff, and Lego doesn't even get forced, does not even force to use the sound barrier, right? So, yeah, just run down your opponent here.
Oh, Attack doing his best, but the kinetic grasp doesn't protect Hyun. Crescent does trade it back, but here come that plethora of ults for Poker Face. Yeah, I mean, already the checkpoint gained. Likely the lead, too. I mean, sound barrier's still up, unless Jaewoo or Kilo does something nasty to Lego again. You have to imagine Poker Face, they're going to be able to snowball this. Jaewoo going in now. He knows the primary target, but that's a slippery frog. The Pulse Bomb slides right off him. And there's nothing now for Zero in the tank. Here comes the sound barrier. Here comes the push. Poker Face stampeding into Zero. And they've already gotten rid of Crescent. Isolated attack. Oh, okay. I mean, Valentine dying doesn't really matter as long as the rest of Poker Face survive. They've got a comfortable lead now, too.
Yeah, this is taking... With this trade to Valentine, the thing is now is they can't actually go all in a fight because they have to... Valentine's walking back and is sort of the what keeps Proud moving in the combat arena, and they're actually Proud gets taken down by Kilo. So just skirmishing to make sure that, you know, when fights happen, they're on Zero's side of the map.
He was a maniac with where he positions in a lot of these fights.
Yeah.
He is up in Poker Face's face, pardon the pun.
Well, that's a fight that Zero has to win, right? There's
absolutely.
To get that early pick off onto Valentine, Proud is a sitting duck. You just kind of clean up from there. So that's a pretty expected sort of situation now. Zero, the big thing is that they didn't use any ults to do it. And so they have to kind of take a fight here where they win cleanly.
Riddick Flux, I mean, I don't know where that accretion was going, but it definitely doesn't stop the damage. Poker Face do weather the storm, though. Immortality Field is good for that. But it lets Zero get further with the bot. It lets them nearly get up to where they were. And should they win this fight, they will take a lead. Pulse Bomb getting set up here. The Captive Sun lobbed in from downrange. It hits simple. You got to keep that Baptiste up. Nothing, though, out of the Pulse Bomb. Now you need Kilo. Oh, and Crescent, too. Beautiful combo. Blows Poker Face to smithereens, and Zero will take a lead here, almost assuredly.
I mean, they better. That was 5 ults.
Worth.
I mean, if they get the lead, it's worth. If it isn't, it's catastrophic.
Actually, you know, the buck got stolen away briefly in the middle of that fight. There's a contest now for Poker Face. Artillery strike coming in, too. The backline's the target. Kilo is done. Yeah, I don't think he had the slide, so no way out of that one. And Crescent doesn't have much firepower on that angle, on that flank. Actually, Crescent's now stuck behind Poker Face, too. This has gone from bad to worse.
And I mean, I said it was catastrophic if they didn't get the lead. I actually think it's even worst case scenario than that. Kilo has made a switch over to the Widowmaker. I mean, this is crumbling.
That's desperate if I've ever seen it. Kilo knows he needs more than the rail can provide. He needs to be hitting multiple people in a fight. And oh, the Pulse Bomb just barely dodged. Attack. Peppy is on him, on top of him, kicking him in the face. And Zero are quickly losing control.
I mean, not just that. Zero or Poker Face rather doing such a good job of these very staggered eliminations, right? 30 seconds left on the clock. And every elimination that comes in onto a Zero player at this stage of the game is 10 seconds gone. Theirs is going to be an overtime fight. Zero have to win 3 fights in a row flawlessly.
I mean, Proud is going to survive here. I thought he was done for, but Lego drops the beat, gives him the shields and attack. I don't think he has the same sort of firepower, the same sort of shielding power, rather. Poker Face, they have snowballed entirely. Zero. It was close until it wasn't. And Poker Face give us a tied game again. 2-2.
Incredible stuff from Poker Face. Just a fundamental understanding of how their composition works and which fights are the ones you can let fall to the wayside. Zero, they try to make a clutch play in the end, but it's an overspending. It's just they overspend, and that is where it all falls away. I mean, Poker Face, we saw this from them in the semifinals. It took them a little bit of time, but once they got to push, they really started to look like the better team. Here, I mean, Zero was close, exactly as you said, until it wasn't. Does Escort end up being a mirror of yesterday? Or can Zero steal their map pick away once more?
Zero, I need to take a breath. Started scrambling at the end of New Queen Street. A little bit too desperate to make a lead happen here and now. Get things back to stable. I'm a little bit surprised that we didn't see Kilo go over to the Sombra at all that map.
Yeah.
Proud was on the Bastion the entire time. That's been Kilo's answer to it, you know? Sidestep the Bastion, get on top of Lego, make his life miserable. But Proud was able to feast. We have some Proud fans in the sign there. Proud carry. Proud and PokerFace win. Well, they're not winning yet, but they're on their way. All they have to do is flip just one map. Flip one map, PokerFace.
Well,
and you'll be set up to take the series and take the grand finals, take the crown.
I mean, to add to that point, this next map win, this map is a must win for both teams, right? We're tied at 2. We go Escort, Control, Escort. If you win Escort, you get your map pick for the final map.
Sure. Not only that, but the final map is also an Escort map,
Yeah.
so you already feel better about the typing, too.
Yes, exactly so.
Both these teams have only played Escort once, and they've both won it.
You can see
Anybody's game.
heated strategy going on now, as these are neck and neck, these teams. And if one thing must be said about PokerFace, right, is that they've been very stable. Zero have had the higher highs, no question in my mind about that. But PokerFace has just been extremely consistent. And as you kind of go towards the end of the series, sometimes that's what you need to close out a game, right? If your average level of play doesn't ever dip, well, I mean, then in the final moments, right, in the map number 7, perhaps,
Sure.
things get easier. They just get easier for you, and your opponent's trying to scramble to make a big play.
Zero. I don't want to see them scrambling anymore. I want to see cool heads prevail going into map number 5. A lot of pressure on this squad, but even more on PokerFace. The team that comes with so much experience, that played against Overwatch League squads, and now returns to Contenders Korea to add themselves to the roster of victorious organizations. Reminder, we've only ever had 5 different teams, orgs, I should say, win Contenders Korea across 14 previous seasons. Now, you know, admittedly, some of those were the different rosters. O2 Blast, you know, they fielded 4 or 5 different rosters across their plethora of wins. But still, PokerFace to add themselves to such a esteemed list, they're going to have to flip it here and now.
I mean, for Zero,
Escort, map number 5.
for Zero, the
And
stakes.
Dorado will be our 5th map.
Yeah, for Zero, the stakes are just as high. We haven't had a Royal Rotor since GC Busan. They could be second in a line of 2.
Valentine fan. That sign says, if you lose, you walk home. Okay, well. I mean, luckily, they have pretty good public transportation in Seoul. It's my understanding. So, you know, I think he'll be able to get that done. Obviously, he wants to be riding in a limo on his way home, so the win is what he'll push for. Dorado is an interesting place for our 5th map number. Our 5th map number 5, sure. Our map number 5, LaFon, because it's where we've seen the most attempts at deviation from the Sigma, right? I mean, yesterday we saw Dreamers try and pull out the Diva here. We've seen some Wrecking Ball on this map. Is this a compositional gambit from Zero? Will we see something funky?
My expectation is that, so a little bit of context, Attack, despite having a really good Sigma, doesn't actually have a traditional flex tank pool. Or at least we haven't seen Attack on flex tank. The historical aspect of that in some time, right?
Sure.
So I don't know. I would expect possibly some Orisa on first. We've seen attack run things. I think we've seen attack run like a Winston once. Those were nightmares.
Yeah,
I don't think that's gonna happen so much.
That was when, you know, it was like you can only play Winston this meta, right? I would be shocked if that's what attack comes out with.
Well, we are in fact.
Here's our map set,
Dorado.
folks. It's been back and forth.
It has been.
I mean, in terms of pattern recognition, XERO should win the map. That don't mean squat, not to Poker Face. I think this first point is always very telling.
Yes.
For Dorado.
Well, it also, especially in this meta, right?
Exactly.
In prior metas, you could argue, okay, like second is also a dive or you know, a dive setup. So if you aren't able to hold on first, there is still a possibility on second. In this patch, we've seen a little bit of dive, yes, but the mainstay run through has been poke, right? Or poke adjacent setups, right? With like the Sigma rush kind of thing. Dorado is a rare outlier in that in this patch, first and third are in that poke rush hybrid, and then second is that weird just try and get past it situation.
just run what you want to run and hope it works on second.
That being said, Poker Face also I will say Poker Face will likely expect I would expect him to continue running the Sigma because again the teleport, which is second.
XERO beginning on the attack. Jwoo Genji.
They are on the attack. They are on the attack. Let's.
I hope. I mean, but I'd believe it is the thing. Normally, I'd you know, let it go by the wayside. Maybe it's just for a deflect. Okay, after the Echo, I like that better. I like that significantly better. The Genji I was really worried about against against Sigma and Symmetra.
Well, Kilo for the Widow. Gets one shot, realizes that's not going to happen, so Sombra it is.
Yeah, that's pretty typical.
Sombra Echo. Okay, Sombra Echo, we've already seen what it's capable of doing. The problem is how do you get attack into position, right? The pacing is just so rough here from XERO because they're never going to have three of their players in the same place at the same time. Wow, there's just so much high ground to kind of attend to.
Man, Crescent has put up a pylon for himself and has decided to play DPS. Does not care about the rest of his team right now. And I mean, it works out pretty well, right? Because there's no way to push Crescent, remove him from that angle. Poker Face have to pretty quickly back off that first high ground.
That is
up
so
on the
much
top
ground.
two. This is really great cover, right? Like the Echo is super playable, especially on this first point, because there's so many places for Jwoo to jump in from, to just glide down onto the backline of Poker Face. You can see Simple playing really far away from that clock tower. Just wants to try and avoid any sort of shenanigans. Already a lot of damage though in the Immortality Field used.
He also has the Ant Matrix up like well ahead of anything else.
That is an ambitious Ant Matrix. But I guess that Poker Face were just feeling too much pressure. I mean, they get enough damage onto attack to where he calls off the attack for the moment. Here comes a Crescent. There comes the Sun. And there goes Lego. Well done by XERO to start this off. Yeah, I mean, Proud's configuration tank 2 is just going to get absorbed by the kinetic grasp. Easy gravitic flux as well. I mean, XERO are snowballing this so intensely. Why not use one more ult and give yourself a healthy time bank?
And to think that all started off with Crescent holding an off angle by himself. And really, the fact that XERO were able to gain the entirety of the lobby area, that main area by the fountain, off of just Crescent standing menacingly on the top banister is truly incredible.
That's just 2 ults, too.
Yeah.
Still plenty. Still EMP for XERO here.
Oh!
Okay, Lego. Making my heart jump into my throat there. Oh, nice. Okay, this is bold. Oh, and he gets knocked out of the... I mean, the Immortality Field got destroyed anyways, and that cleanup took longer than I thought it would. But either way, really solid play from Poker Face. An EMP, not necessarily ideally timed. Jwoo wasn't in position, and attack was falling away because you've lost one of your main healers. I don't love that play.
Actually, this is where we already knew that it was going to be really tough for XERO. Poker Face are okay, you know, fighting here because again, if things get a little too hairy, just teleport out, get back to the high ground. Who's going to chase you on XERO?
Gravitic Flux. Oh, Peppy whiffed it. Okay, things are getting a little bit crazy, guys. PokerFace holding very far forward here, too. Jwoo does have the duplicate in hand, and Crescent up to another Captive Sun. PokerFace, they realized with that Gravitic Flux whiffing that they don't have the firepower to keep that forward of a hold going, and now they don't have Peppy, so they can't hold at all, really, unless Brad does something crazy, and no, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, what ends up happening there is that the supports from PokerFace have to take the coast side angle, and so, you know, Peppy's literally all alone. And actually, because of how fast that first point was captured, XERO are back in a position where they can hold attack forward aggressively, and there's a real chance they can force a final fight here on second with, you know, above 2 minutes in their time. Is someone gonna touch? Someone gonna touch?
Yeah, no, Peppy's got it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. Photon Barrier goes up 2, denies the Captive Sun from getting too much value. Jwoo on an odd duplicate, I'll be honest. He is farming up quite a lot of damage, but running out of time to try and get a Gravitic Flux off. Now he's got it. He goes for Proud. Proud not actually hit, and he loses the duplicate mid-Gravitic Flux. So not much really gained. He'll try and get onto Lego, and okay, there we go. There we go. All right, duplicate, maybe not so spicy. But then Jwoo dives into PokerFace.
Here's, I mean, for XERO, the thing is they actually just needed to get second. If they had got installed out at all on that, you know, end of second, again, that high ground contest would have been such a problem for them. Instead, you know, because they were able to invest in getting to that final point, they get to be back in a position of strength. And I already feel sorry for Lego, and things haven't even happened yet. He is going to be targeted so desperately by Kilo, who, by the way, another EMP in the back pocket.
Yeah, I mean, we're about to see the new, like, UCS Venator Lego get dropped from a 10-story building if Kilo has his way. Oh, instead goes for Peppy. All right, taking the Peppy out of the Steppy for PokerFace. I mean, that makes it pretty hard to hold. Lego does use a sound barrier there, so a brief window of life for PokerFace, but scrambling a bit. Amplification Matrix used, and actually with attack falling, PokerFace have swung this back pretty comfortably. Kilo and Jwoo putting in the damage, just dodging away from Proud too, who really wants to get in. Yeah, he'll find Kyun, and XERO have run out of momentum.
I mean, still for PokerFace to have to kind of spend the Ant Matrix on top of the sound barrier is not ideal. And keep in mind, XERO were so lightning quick on the first 2 points that they have room to actually set up, which is something we talked about on Surasa, right? Where this Tracer Sombra needs to set up to actually find value. Here, because of how quick the first 2 points were, they'll have the opportunity to do so once again.
The pathing does get a little bit more tricky in this third point for both Tracer and Sombra, though. Really only a couple of ways to finesse yourself around the defense. Here comes Valentine. Wow, he takes a lot of damage instantly, and a nice stick forces the immortality field. PokerFace surviving for now, but how do they live against the Captive Sun? Chucked onto Valentine. The splash damage, triggered eventually. And that is one falling. Both DPS actually gone for PokerFace, as XERO are just sliding the payload on by. Nobody from PokerFace able to get back to the objective to contest. Artillery to try and get rid of Crescent, but he dodges out of the way. And can anyone even touch here? Just barely! Sound barrier used for just the supports, though. And this defense ain't going to be lasting long. Photon barrier, all the defensive resources thrown in. Crescent actually dying too. Simple. He's doing all the work himself. All right, if my DPS are going to keep dying, I'll get it done and hold here and now.
And that is just a clutch play by Simple. Literally milliseconds away from losing that fight. If that Ant Matrix doesn't come online exactly when it does, this map is done and dusted. Instead, Simple gets the one burst onto both DPS from XERO. And all of a sudden, PokerFace have put themselves in a position where they deny, with a real possibility to deny the capture from XERO.
But they used or swapped off everything, and EMP's coming up.
EMP Pulse Bomb.
A terrifying combination if there ever was one. And Crescent, again, just pylons for himself and annoys PokerFace. That's a nice EMP. Crowd already down, and Peppy's not feeling too good. Immortality field used, and that means PokerFace, they don't have much left in the tank. Lego so low. Oh, and it's Valentine who walks into the Pulse Bomb. I mean, a valiant effort from PokerFace. They wear away almost all of the time, but 13 seconds remain as the map is completed.
I mean, we have to attend to the fact that Dorado Sure, there's not a lot of time left on the clock, but how often do we see full caps completed full stop? And I think if you're a XERO fan, you're more than okay with how this turned out.
Oh, poor Valentine. He was already in the air.
Yeah.
That's tough stuff. Excellent push, though. And it just goes to show, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think PokerFace played their defense very well yesterday.
Yeah.
But Dreamers did flounder around on some weird compositions and played mystery heroes for a bit. So, you know, PokerFace, they're going to have to show us something excellent on this attacking side. And we really didn't get to see their attack yesterday because the map was so quick.
Yeah, the difference between XERO and Dreamers is decisive, I think is fair to say. XERO understood... what it's going to come down to, by the way, is the fact that Crescent is able to hold space alone. You know, coming into this, we talked about the fact that XERO cannot show respect, that they don't show respect to their opposition in terms of, you know, the seniority of the teams that have kind of been there. And here it's playing out in full force. If Crescent, you know, shows the fact that, oh, that's Proud on the other side, that's Valentine on the other side, that can take me down, you know, and doesn't hold that space, this isn't as fast of capture. Not at all.
I'll have to see if he's able to keep away from those teleporters like he was on Surasa. I mean, that has to be the name of the game here for PokerFace. That's how they've sieged onto the backline thus far. Although here, the pylon is actually being used for Jaewoo so that he can comfortably hang on to the top of this building. Doesn't really have to worry about Crescent or Hyun being a bit far away to heal him. I actually really like that. And look, PokerFace, they don't really know how to approach him right now. Crescent, what are you doing there, buddy? What was the plan on that one? Why are we on the low ground? Why are we so far away from anyone who could help us?
Still, this is actually...
He does get low, but he'll survive, and, I mean, it feels like a matter of time without Crescent.
You say that, but Kilo comes in clutch once again, and Crescent's on his way back. XERO are not out of this, not even close.
No, PokerFace haven't been able to push the issue like I thought they would with Crescent gone. I mean, Jaewoo has to fall back a little bit, but like I said on their attack, there's plenty of places for him to hold that are very safe for him.
I mean, now PokerFace, it's going to come down to dumping both the Ant Matrix and the Sound Barrier, just running at XERO's backline. But the opportunity, the window is disappearing swiftly. Gravitic Flux is going to be here in a moment.
Seal the payload away. They flip the map on XERO, so attack, he can't really step too far back or otherwise the payload will move away. Proud with the configuration assault almost gets Jaewoo. He's still actually pretty low. He might just dupe and go straight in. Gravitic Flux not getting a ton from attack, and Kilo falls. Oh, actually, he hasn't used it yet. Okay, it's a little bit better than I thought. It at least forces out the Sound Barrier. And Simple's taking a lot of damage. Simple's done! Lego's not feeling too healthy either. Valentine's charged up, but even TPing around, Jaewoo just lays sticky bombs at the feet of the teleporter and gets rid of him.
And this has gone from bad to worse for PokerFace. Half their time bank has elapsed, but critically, they don't get ideal setups out of their resources. And XERO, despite it looking like perhaps they overspent, no, in fact, they're going to come back with an EMP with a Captive Sun. PokerFace, I mean, running out of resources here.
At least the Photon Barrier is up to deal with one of those, but if the Captive Sun comes out and you get baited, that EMP can dispel it, or EMP goes first. Yeah, I don't know if that was the ideal timing, Kilo. He'll pay for it, but it's a trade. Not a favorable one for PokerFace. Artillery in desperation, but a Captive Sun laid on Peppy. Without their tank, how could PokerFace ever convert?
And it feels like PokerFace is scrambling now. I mean, that was everything they had, right? And that was XERO using suboptimal setups to get that fight win. Kilo uses an EMP, dies instantly. The Photon Barrier is still kept up. And I mean, PokerFace, here's where the changes in selection comes in. Proud goes over to a Sojourn, and immediately Jaewoo just says, no, absolutely no coming out of your hidey hole to get this one.
I mean, this makes Jaewoo's life a little bit more difficult, but really, he's only got to be careful when Proud actually has the rail shot available. TP forward, trying to get far into the back line, and again, whisk away that payload, try to steal it from attack, but he's up to the task. Dodges the accretion, and now can hold this, but I mean, that payload does move away from him. Gravitic Flux going for the back line, trying to tee up his DPS. Can Jaewoo get there? Crescent gets it done, of all people. Jwoo with a duplicate. He's on top of Valentine, and Hyun helps him out. 23 seconds left. Poker Face, it'll be a mad scramble to get back to the payload and not get full health.
Oh, and they're going to stagger Simple as well. That late pickup. I mean, Crescent as the late pickup actually doesn't end up mattering. Valentine over for the contest, but look at this. Kilo playing Gatekeeper. The hack comes in. Wrong target.
But Valentine, Valentine's so low. I don't know if he actually triggered the overtime. Nope. Denied. XERO up to match point.
And the trend continues. Map selection ends up being of tremendous importance. Here's where it gets so dicey for Poker Face. They've already lost one control. This time they go to their map selection, but the road is looking awful bleak for the presumptuous team.
I see a Lijiang Tower in our future. That was the map Poker Face took off of XERO when they played in the group stage. But that, it has to be said, that feels like a different XERO at this time. Different Poker Face too. But not an enviable position for one of the teams we anticipated to be a favorite heading into this season. Them and Dreamers, they took down Dreamers. But it's XERO, the upstarts from the WG Open, looking to make the full run. They already won one tournament. Now, can they make it a second? The fall series of Contenders Korea, the last season for the year, is in their grasp. They just need one of the next two maps. Either dominate on Control or finish us off in a map 7. We'll find out when we come back from a break. XERO are on the precipice of writing their name, engraving it into Overwatch Contenders Korea. But they need one more map out of the next two. Thus far, every time a team has selected a map, they have won it. Good news for Poker Face. That means things are looking up for map number 6. Bad news is that means they need to defy that on our 7th and final map. Assuming they even win their own map pick here. And of course, as we anticipated, LaFawn, we know where it's going. It's Lijiang Tower, the one control map, the one map that Poker Face won the last time these two teams played. Couldn't have gone anywhere else.
And I think one of the things is that this is a different XERO. A very different XERO. I would expect that if we go to Night Market, the Doomfist comes back. We saw what Attack was able to do on Ilios with the Doomfist. The multiple eliminations off the side of the map, right? But then after that, I think it becomes anyone's game.
Still feels like anyone's game. Even now. XERO, they have a lead, but how long will it last? Can the young guns stay stable under so much pressure? The WGG arena is packed, by the way. Everyone excited to see how this year of Contenders wraps up, and to see the who ends up being the only team to technically win a season of Contenders in 2023 for Korea. Some Valentine fans in the audience, quite a few actually. Valentine, please win for us. That was that last sign there. Yeah, not just for you folks, but for his team, for his year, for his legacy.
What an interesting adaptation, by the way, from Valentine. To go from being the carry DPS player, historically, to now filling more of a, I don't want to say a supporting role in the DPS, but to take that step back and be the platoon player. Has really stabilized Poker Face's front line, their DPS core, rather.
Valentine has such a history in Contenders Korea, too. He's played on WGS Phoenix. He's played on MVP, or Team MVP, not MVP Space. All the way back, he played in the second ever season of Contenders Korea on New Paradigm. And now him and the rest of Poker Face have a chance to defy the odds and get themselves a crown of their own. Lijiang Tower, as we said, for our 6th and hopefully not final map if you're a Poker Face fan. One more for XERO, though, and they'll put this series away.
Here's the question for XERO. Do we end up seeing the adaptations come out from them, or is it going to just return to the tried and true? At this stage of the game, do you feel that your mirror has been, or the mirror adjacent composition has been so stable that you're able to kind of just keep playing it?
At least on Gardens, I anticipate the Echo Sombra.
Yeah.
Right? That's certainly where it's most playable. Echo, of course, could show up on Night Market as well. I wouldn't hate that. But then you think about Control Center and even Night Market, right? The last time these two teams played on Night Market, Poker Face were dipping and diving and teleporting all around the map, and XERO couldn't keep up with it. Now Crescent has learned. Can XERO get it done? The WDG Arena, there we go, erupts as we head into Lijiang Tower. And XERO, back to the Orisa. We haven't seen much of this, but it worked well on Ilios.
And here's an interesting adaptation. Kilo, who's been lights out in the Sombra, is going to continue with that character and give the Sojourn over to Jwoo. I mentioned that he has in his hero pool that hit scan potential. We see it brought to the fore for the first time.
Can Jwoo be as much of a sensation on the Sojourn as we know Kilo can be, though? Poker Face already with the first cap. XERO hardly even contesting them for it, hoping that Kilo or Jwoo will find an angle. Crescent in some trouble. Teleport to follow him, but he's out of there. He's got protection. Jwoo's got his back. Attack trying to siege onto the objective, but Peppy is perfectly fine. That Orisa doesn't deal enough damage by itself. Kilo or Jwoo, they gotta find a way in here, and here already an Ant Matrix. Attack is slaughtered, and XERO will not be able to put down Poker Face in this first fight.
Simple and absolutely incredible performance from him. 25% faster than his opposition on that Ant Matrix. I mean, even those delayed eliminations onto Valentine and Proud are meaningless. Actually, that being said, Jwoo needs to... If Jwoo can get another pick off, there's a real path back in for XERO.
Kilo's coming in. Attack. Kilo, they think they have an angle here, but no way to actually secure a pick. Peppy steps right back over to the objective. Terra Surge is available. Terra Surge Crescent Sun is a devastating combo if you can find the angle for it. An Ant Matrix to force Peppy back. Captive Sun out. There's that Terra Surge. Okay, I mean, it's quite a bit of damage, enough for Simple to fall and a flip to come through, but Poker Face aren't done. The Gravitic Flux canceled by an EMP. Kilo rips the teeth out of Poker Face's mouth. They got no bite to their bark.
Poker Face, though, I think they're okay with that, right? The only unfortunate thing is that that point flip a little too early. But they actually just, with the Gravitic Flux and the Sound Barrier, pull out 3 key resources from XERO. Now it's just the overclock. And, I mean, in the hands, we've seen it from Kilo, where 5 gets taken down. Can Jwoo pull the same kind of magic? Not at all.
Man.
He's just done.
No. Yeah. Gets rolled over. Steamrolled. And XERO, I mean, they don't even... Wow. Okay. They don't even stay on the objective.
They can't.
They're toward the wrong spawn as well. They're trying to do a full lap around the map.
And the problem is, with all that time spent, they don't actually get any resources. They don't generate anything, right? This is such a good fight from Poker Face. They're going to extend their lead.
Oh, Proud and Peppy awfully low. Lego falls. Jwoo with an overclock out now, but it's all going into a shield. He tries to slide away, but the Ant Matrix is so much damage, and Valentine even finds him. Attack on the objective. Can he survive long enough? No. Proud's got his number. And Poker Face are off to a roaring start on Lijiang. It's very difficult for XERO to get back in time.
I mean, even if they do, what are they going to close out with, right? What is going to keep them in the fight? Kilo is the closest with... I mean, he's going to get the touch. You need the Ant Matrix, but even just getting in is going to be a problem.
That was already a lot of damage on Kilo. How long can XERO actually hold on to this attack already so low? Jwoo struggling to find an angle. He just swapped to the Tracer, so no Pulse Bomb for an Eon. And look at Poker Face. They're pressing their advantage. Hyun already down. Crescent, he's not really in a place where he can assist his team. There, the EMP finally comes through. But where's the damage? Where's the follow-up? There's no chance to get it done. And PokerFace with a dominant start on Control Center.
Unbelievable. I mean, their composition is just better in that setup. They completely dismantle XERO on Control Center. No pathway in. Crescent, who has been a phenom the rest of this series, just iced out. And Jaewoo and Kilo both kept silent as well.
An excellent formation here by PokerFace. I love the way that every single position... This is PokerFace on Lijiang, dude. Every position they take with the teleporter is so well thought out, so tactical. They know what their options are from every single vantage point. I love the way that the artillery strike forced Jaewoo out, and Jaewoo throwing in a bit of a wild card here. I don't think we've seen a Pharah this season at all.
No, this is just a logical extension of the composition that we're talking about with the Doomfist. It's an all-in scenario. You're never going to be able to chase down the Pharah. And so Jaewoo realistically is, with all the distraction that Attack and Kilo are going to do, Jaewoo is going to be the prime beneficiary in terms of damage throughput. The question is, can you do it before your team falls apart?
I mean, look at the way Simple is keeping track of Jaewoo, too. Obviously, I mean, a Baptiste, unless Hyun somehow, like, breaks his mouse, a Baptiste is never going to have enough damage to kill Jaewoo himself with a Mercy Pocket. But it keeps him on his toes. PokerFace already have the first cap. This is a nice angle, though. Jaewoo can pump in a lot of damage here, but he's got to stay up to do so. And Attack is falling away here. Oh, that's a nice accretion. Crescent's done for. I mean, just in the blink of an eye, there was no chance for counterplay.
Gonna try and go for the res here onto Crescent, but he's being gate kept.
I mean, the res eventually comes through. It costs Attack quite a bit, but he can take a breath and try to re-engage. All the while, PokerFace already at past 30%. Hyun needs to keep his head down. Peppy again. Those hyperspheres are deadly. I mean, a nice slap in there by Attack, but again, there's no follow-up, no way to keep the good times rolling. Meteor Strike gets rid of Valentine, and Simple falls too. Hold on, PokerFace. They've let themselves get split up a bit, and XERO eventually get their way into the fight.
I mean, that being said, it still didn't really cost PokerFace anything, though. And they're halfway to that capture, 57%. Now it's all about making sure XERO overinvest, right? You're going to see an EMP, you're going to see a barrage in this next fight. Actually, you're going to see it right here.
Yep, Raj. Poor Lego, dude. He's not been allowed to play the game in this entire series. Valentine, I mean, you're dusted as well. No chance you're surviving that. Not with the nade. Where did that nade even come from? That's crazy.
That must have been
Oh, not the stagger.
I think that was a vertical set nade by Crescent in that one. Even still, here's the thing, though, is that this is just... You need to get another 50%. You need to get to 50% rather, be able to match PokerFace. Once PokerFace is able to teleport in close, getting point control is going to be a big deal, and that is just not a good enough EMP.
EMP a bit ambitious. I mean, the nano comes onto Jaewoo, but the sound barrier, yeah. Why are you taking Pharah into such a low ceiling? A little bit too bold by XERO there. They thought they had a play. At least they'll get a res. Try to dance around the objective a little bit longer, but the flip already through. Crowd does fall. Crescent getting walked on. I mean, how long can he really anticipate to survive? He gets a health pack. He's got a pocket. Hold on, wait. Peppy's just left his team alone. Eventually, with Valentine's help, he gets it, but they've completely lost the threat of the fight.
Yeah, Peppy's not going to be able to run down, though, and so there's going to be no resurrect onto Crescent. So there is a avenue in. Lego wise to Kilo's ways this time around, is not going to be spawn camped.
Ooh, proud. No, I thought he had it. I thought there was enough there, but Simple not able to get over and assist his Bastion. Valentine once again getting jumped on top of by Attack. This time at least survives it, and with a photon barrier, another flip, just like our very first round of the series. Back and forth these two teams go on control. XERO looking for a way in. Without Crescent, it's difficult. No ante. So the res has to come through, but that means Attack is getting battered. He flies away, leaping back to try and set up another fight.
I mean, now it's Final Fight territory. PokerFace are making sure wisely to keep this as a skirmish. Don't allow a true dive to come in from XERO. And Attack now in so much trouble.
He's got the power block. He'll be able to get away, or maybe he won't. Crescent falls. The TP's perfect. PokerFace, they've done it, I think. Can send us to a map 7 right here, right now. A shutdown. Proud picks Jwoo out of the air. No barrage for you, and the EMP denied too. For our last series of the year, we go the full distance.
Map number 7 awaits us here. It goes back to XERO as their map pick. The trend has continued. PokerFace must buck tradition to steal this series away. Already, not but one map ago, did XERO win out on Escort. They'll get their pick once more and try and close out the series. Has their journey come to an end? Or will PokerFace fumble in the final moments? That is what awaits us here in our 7th and final map of championship title contention in Contenders Korea.
And the last 2 maps have felt like they've swung so dominantly one way or the other. You can even see on XERO's face, they know that wasn't particularly close. The strategies they've been saving for Lijiang for this eventuality, not bothering PokerFace hardly at all. Sure, you get to go to one more map, but keep in mind, they also picked the last Escort map. So Dorado was their best option. Meaning as we go into map number 7, XERO have to reach just a bit further into their playbook. Go out of their comfort zone a little bit more. And the entire year of Contenders Korea lies in just one more round.
Truly, this is, for the first time all series, we can dismiss the kind of back and forth look, of map selection. For the first time all series, predicting where this map is going to go is actually very difficult. Thinking of the rest of the map pool that we have available to us, right? I'd say it's about equal between PokerFace and XERO in this last one. If anything, you want to go to somewhere where it's Tracer Sombra or Echo Sombra.
I was gonna say, well, let's do the math on Tracers and Sombras, right? Circuit Royale?
No,
I don't think so. Shambali Monastery? Not very likely. That leaves you only with one solid option. Route 66.
And yet, when you look at it from PokerFace's perspective, you're going to issue Shambali and Circuit Royale anyway. Route 66, I think, would have been their selection should it have been at this stage of the game.
Truly, anyone's map. I wouldn't have this any other way, LaFawn. What a finale for the fall series. Hey, finale's on one of these teams too. We haven't seen him. Kilo too. I mean, Kilo, a player who we've heralded so much, who has been so impressive in the fall series, has been a little bit quieter the last couple of maps. Dominant on the Sombra early on in this series.
And you have to give a ton of credit.
He'll need to step up here.
You have to give a ton of credit to Kilo, though.
Absolutely.
Going from that carry player to now fitting in as the do-it-all veteran on the Sombra. He's so young and he's a veteran. Unbelievable. The futures of these stars are so bright. From the young guns like Jwoo, the old hands in quotation marks.
But you have to think, Kilo, not but a year ago, Map 7, Grand Finals, Overwatch League there. It was so close for him, so close to getting that championship, and it fell away at just the last moments. Will it slip out of his grasp again? Or can he rally with the rest of XERO to get it done on our 7th and final map?
This is where heroes are born, Paul.
These are the stories we live for. Everything in esports for moments like these. PokerFace, they seem calm and they're keeping their poker face on, ironically enough. I have waited for over a year to make a joke like that. Got in just at the end.
For XERO, smiles on their faces.
They're back in it. They looked nervous at the end of the last map. But you take a second, you take a breath. They collected themselves after a discombobulating loss on New Queen Street. So there's no doubt that they can do it again. I mean, the last escort map was dominant as well. Full cap into a full hold XERO. There's no way that they should crumble here and now. Confidence brimming. We've talked about it. How they're a team that, despite the pedigree on the other side, they're willing to play. They won't back down. They haven't yet.
The calm before the storm here.
A moment to catch our breaths.
The pause before it all breaks down. The gates will unlock and we will fight for it all. The players take a breath. We do too. The fans in the audience, the WDG Arena, they bide as well.
What a legendary finish to the year we're going to have here. All I can think of is that historic match between Kongdu Panthera and Runaway. The 8 mapper, if I remember correctly.
Indeed.
Contenders Korea. Nothing delivers quite right like it. We go now to our final map of the series, Route 66, as anticipated. XERO, they've come to win. The crown's so close for both of these squads. But only one will go home with the smiles they currently wear on their faces.
And it must be said that PokerFace are looking to break the pattern for the first time here today. Map pick has often meant map win for PokerFace. This must be a change of fate if they want to be able to step on the table as champions.
Man, I'm just trying to collect my breath before we go in. I have a feeling, with how these two teams have played tooth and nail every fight, every moment, there's no way that this last map is not an absurd banger. But questions still remain for both our squads. PokerFace, they have kept to their one look this entire tournament. But XERO, what will you give us? What form will we see? On to Route 66 we go for the grand finals, the grand finale.
The fans have left it all out there as well. The players about to do the same. PokerFace comes in close. XERO look to take advantage. It's a Tracer Sombra as expected.
Put everything out on the field, boys. You can't take it home with you. PokerFace, a pretty forward hold here. Peppy doesn't even want to give an inch to XERO. Imagine if they could pull the Uno reverse and full hold XERO back for revenge on Dorado. Peppy in attack already. Chucking rocks at each other. Attack takes one to the face, but answers right back, and Peppy's in trouble. The immortality field, if that falls, Peppy, he's real far forward. He'll get rid of the enemy tank, but how long can PokerFace last? They've only lost Lego so far. Looks pretty good.
Kilo, oh my word, Kilo is so low. But no, he'll get the mega health pack. This ends up favoring XERO. Reminder, their spawn is right there. PokerFace not giving ground though. They expect Lego to be able to return.
They want 3 fights. They want to wear every single second they can. Give XERO no room to breathe. Simple in some trouble. But he's surviving for now. Jwoo not able to finish that off. Lego amping it up and keeping his buddy alive. What a stick! I don't even think he knew Valentine was going to run into that one. But that'll open the door for XERO to finally get the payload going.
Jwoo to this point has been Not quiet, but certainly not to the levels that we've expected him. Here, the youngest player in the lobby in the final moment seems to have turned it back up to another level. I mean, still, PokerFace have done what they needed to get some time off the clock. About half the time bank elapsed. There will be a recontest here for sure. PokerFace. The big thing here now is the EMP. Dodging this will be the one that allows them to hold the defense.
Oh, man. They don't dodge squat, though. Already, both supports gone. I mean, more time being whittled away as Peppy is surviving best he can, but XERO, they only use, what, the EMP there? That's worth.
Yeah, that's absolutely worth. If anything, the only thing is that PokerFace used nothing. The question is there going to be a recontest now from PokerFace? Recall, they do have the teleporter. They can get back. The scouting is in here from Kilo. They're going for it.
Yeah, speed boost. Photon barrier. Just scrambling for the objective. Barely getting there in time. And not actually even losing anyone. Attack overstays. Tries to make himself a dam, but the dam breaks. Oh, what a block, too! Peppy, no sunlight for you. He's got his shades on. Valentine does fall, though. PokerFace not out of the woods yet. They'll have to use the sound barrier here to try and stabilize. Crescent in some trouble, but he's evading deftly once again. Crescent unkillable on the Ilaria a lot of the time. And now with the Ant Matrix up top, Peppy's got to be careful. Jwoo hounding him, and Kilo finishes him off. I don't know if the Gravitic Flux was necessary, but at least it gets XERO all the way through first.
One of the things about the composition that XERO is running is that if you make it scrappy, they will fight there with you. PokerFace are designed to play as a unit, 5 players together. Break them apart, and they are no longer as strong as the sum of their parts. XERO, Kilo, and Jwoo, and Crescent, they're more than okay coming into the skirmish. And by the way, Kilo already building up to his second EMP. Jwoo and Kilo have synced up so well in the past in this series. Try to do it once more, and Peppy, all eyes on him.
I mean, nice Gravitic Flux here. Hyun does survive just barely with that immortality field. And weather the storm. Teleporter destroyed. Now no way to avoid the pulse! Oh, he gives his life for it, and Jwoo again somehow gets Valentine. Poor guy just is magnetized to those, and here comes an EMP over the top. Peppy in some trouble. I mean, he's hanging on best he can. PokerFace, they're really just playing the time gambit right now. They're okay with losing these fights, but they're losing them so slowly. And I mean, with Hyun falling, maybe they can turn this around. Attack's low, but no, he'll live.
As you said, though, that is about the time at this point of the game. And not just about the time, but also the resource bank of XERO. They do invest the EMP in that setup and don't have much to back up beyond there. PokerFace, I mean, sustain is going to be the name of the game for them. And already Kilo trying to prevent Lego from getting to position.
Crescent with the Captive Sun. Can Peppy block it twice? Up onto the roof they go. Hack onto Proud, too. He's not able to really do much now. Captive Sun, that's a lot of potential damage on Lego, but not really the follow-through. Proud did get isolated, though. Falling off that roof is troublesome for PokerFace's chances of winning this fight. But again, they're wearing so much time, and now with the sound barrier, too. Sound barrier used, running into the back line, sieging onto Hyun, and getting rid of the Baptiste. That means attack is soon to fall. And PokerFace finally win themselves a fight.
What a flawless sound barrier from Lego. That was perfect. Not in any danger of being assassinated by Kilo. And as you highlighted, Hyun had nowhere to go. I mean, PokerFace have rescued themselves with that. This is going to be close to that last fight territory for XERO. And I mean, you expect to see everything kind of dumped in here from the offensive team. And yet, even still, Valentine slowing the game down with a photon barrier. Proud doing the same with the artillery strike. It's going to be such a tough place to assail here with this EMP.
I mean, Kilo already forced out too, right as he was about to work up to it. Here's a Gravitic Flux. I mean, that makes Simple's life really difficult. Oh, he smacked into the ground, and Proud joins him in the grave. Beautiful work. No EMP necessary, and now it's much easier for Kilo to set up for this potentially last fight of second.
I mean, is there even going to be a contest is the question.
I mean,
Kilo's, you say set up for the contest, but here's the thing. He can actually just make sure that no one even comes close.
No, I mean, he didn't even need to. Now he's ready. I mean, he's pretending like he's part of PokerFace. He's escorting alongside them. And I mean, this EMP is deadly, Lego. No way. You're not going to live through that one, buddy. Photon barrier up. Again, PokerFace just trying to stall as much time as they can. But, I mean, is it better to play for Slow losses here, or should they play for a win? I mean, Gravitic Flux, Ant Matrix, surely those have to be killer. Already attack falling too. PokerFace putting Zero back in their spawn, but that spawn's real close.
I mean, that pickup there onto Proud is what is going to break open the opportunity here for Zero to keep playing aggressively onto third. Keep in mind that the reason why they took that fight is because it sets Proud up for success. Now it's about losing slowly. That elimination onto Pappy just sets them back one layer. You're looking at this next fight, and you're thinking, I mean, Zero, they have the captive Sun. Thinking the back line is probably going to be the target. Have Kilo and Jaywu just run down Lego and Simple and ignore Peppy, who's going to be in the front line.
Peppy hacked too. I mean, PokerFace, they can't take any space now. Peppy isn't able to set up for that Gravitic Flux either. Okay, I mean, is it actually good to teleport away from that is the question. Simple gets hit with the Captive Sun regardless. Valentine and Proud just abandon their team. And eventually, they'll all fall regardless.
And now we're in that final fight. 30 seconds left. What happens here is the end of the map. EMP set up as the approach comes in. Everyone on PokerFace is going to walk into it.
Yeah, there's no chance to avoid this. Gravitic Flux canceled and everything. Bad to worse for PokerFace. They'll try and use a sound barrier to stabilize. Attacking Hyun pretty low. Proud, can you finish off these picks? Yes, just barely. No cap this time. 5 seconds on the clock. And 0 are sent packing. PokerFace. It seems like the time gambit, well, I don't know if it paid off necessarily. That's a lot of push for Zero. But they don't get all the way.
Win condition established.
Not an easy path to tread.
The champions will have to nearly, whoever they end up being, will find themselves just shy of that third phase as the winning gambit. And Jaywu, I mean, it was quiet by his standards.
Really are showing up this map.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And I mean, Valentine has just another one there, that pulse bomb onto Proud, and Valentine is the unfortunate recipient of the actual elimination.
And I mean, the way Kilo's building these EMPs, too. He's got him every other fight. It's just not fair.
The support line for PokerFace. I mean, that Captive Sun fight, the penultimate fight of the attacking round for Zero, right? Sure, you could say that they abandoned the backline with a teleport, but realistically, there was no other play.
Right? No, yeah.
I mean, you can see it. PokerFace, they acknowledge there are some fights where we're just not going to be able to trade resources to try and be faster. But Zero is so quick.
It felt like PokerFace only played for a fight win on 2 fights. Their entire defense. A ship in the harbor is safe, Lafon, but that's not what a ship is for. PokerFace now moving on to their attack, moving into the last round of the year. They're going to have to get much more aggressive.
I mean, already Kilo making sure that PokerFace pay attention. Checking every corner. The paranoia setting in for sure.
A much more defensive hold here from Zero. Not going for that time gambit that PokerFace was, instead opting to maximize their chances in every single fight. An advantageous position here on top of Big Earls and on the cliff side.
You want to get
already onto Big Earls. Crescent not able to get away this time very well. Yeah, he'll get run down. And now Proud, can he farm? Can he feast? A lot of damage comes his way, so I'll have to take a breath.
Excellent kiting, by the way, from Jaywu to keep the payload from moving. Dodging back and forth to keep the payload back in position without giving up too much damage as well. Zero will be back with Crescent in the moment.
Ooh, Kilos, okay. Oh, wow, he waits forever on that translocate. I thought he was going to catch a stray. Instead, it's Hyun who falls. Valentine and Simple going up behind. They knew Hyun was hanging out with attack, and now there's no one to keep that Sigma up on the high ground. He doesn't have enough healing. Zero slowly falling apart on this defense, and PokerFace are going to have a massive time bank.
Yeah, tremendous stuff here. And PokerFace, they do that without using any resources whatsoever. In the open phase of the second point, I mean, you're looking at Simple setting up an Ant Matrix, burning down an individual. Question is the timing going to be quick enough to get ahead of the EMP from Kilo, who has been, I mean, just lights out on the Sombra.
He builds the EMP before JWoo gets a pulse bomb. That's wrong. That's evil. What is he doing? My word. What an insane player. And look how he just patiently waits. He's like a Venus flytrap, waiting for them to just walk, wander, land on top of him. He jumps in like he's going to use it. Maybe trying to bait out the sound barrier there. Instead, though, now he's doubling back. Doesn't quite avoid Valentine, though, and has to translocate away. JWoo falls. Things not looking good for Zero. They'll have to use something else. So Gravitic Flux, that'll pull the sound barrier out. Oh, Kilo! He hits the EMP, but he's not alive to see it through. Poker Face survive it and keep the payload moving.
And on top of all of that, they've actually chased down Attack. Zero, they're still investing. Hyun uses the Ant Matrix and Simple comes up behind him.
Is he swapping? What? Like, I can't fathom that one. He is!
Has it all come crumbling apart from Zero in the final moments?
Zero, don't reinvent the wheel. No, he just swapped onto the Life Weaver and the Lucio to get his team back out onto the objective in time. They want one more fight here. But, I mean, you're going into the photon. There's no way to get on Proud right now. He is just perched up on Overlook comfortably over the entire arena. Already JWoo falls and the Captive Sun doesn't get much this time. An unbelievable time bank now. Zero. The Davids against Goliath.
And here's where the veterancy comes into question. Poker Face, who have looked neck and neck with Zero the entire time, have suddenly stolen away. Tremendous.
There's no ults either.
Nothing.
Like, where do you find the value? Who will be the hero? Attack JWoo. Somebody needs to find an angle. First things first, though, survive the amplification matrix coming up. Crescent on the flank. He's trying to pick at the back line. Simple in trouble, but an immortality field keeps him nice and sturdy. Attack not so much. He's losing ground rapidly. He will at least survive. There's JWoo. He's on Proud. Is this what we needed? JWoo needs more than that, though. He'll have to really show up in these next couple of fights, but at least for the moment, Poker Face are deterred.
3 minutes, 35 seconds. A flawless Overwatch required from Zero. They've left everything to the end. Poker Face, they recognize that they don't really have to play flawlessly. For them, it's about making sure that Zero overspend, make these fights scrappy, make Zero overextend, then come back in with a wealth of resources. JWoo goes wide with a pulse bomb.
Trying to make up that time deficit that Zero still find themselves in. Gravitic Flux at the ready, but you gotta be careful. I mean, sure, you can use it to force sound barrier at least. That'll save Poker Face for the moment. Now, Zero, how do you answer back? Proud with no more assault configuration. Oh, my word. I was worried for Crescent there. Now the Ant Matrix is out, but Peppy is feeling just fine. Kilo, will he have to use the EMP here, too? Poker Face, they're not sure how to approach this, though. Trying to find an angle over on the side. Hyun, no! That's what Zero needed, and Kilo shut down! Poker Face, they find their angle in. A desperate Sun checked at Poker Face, but no one can get to the point except JWoo desperately. He recalls away, and Poker Face find their win! Unreadable, unmatched. They hold all the cards, and now they'll cap off their year with a crown. Poker Face are your Fall Series 2023 champions.
And what a tremendous showcase from Poker Face. The elation showing through as they step forward to claim the trophy. Congratulations across at their opponents. Zero were in the lead until they weren't. And the series that was so close was close until it wasn't.
I mean, that last map, I don't know. If one thing goes differently in that last fight, if Kilo hits that EMP, maybe Zero work their way back in. A valiant effort, an unbelievable series, back and forth and back again. An odyssey in 7 maps. But it's Poker Face who return home. Zero, unfortunately, fall by the wayside. But what a season, what a finish to Poker Face's year after they've been so close, nipping at the heels of O2 Blast and Dreamers all year long. Finally, it's all theirs.
And on the way to the grand finals, recall that they were in fact defeated by XERO to come back here in the championship match.
And they had to reverse sweep yesterday to even get to the WDG studio. Poker Face are your champions. Congratulations. What an unbelievable addition to the history of Contenders Korea.
Take a bow, Poker Face. What a year from them. And for XERO, make no mistake, they put on just an absolute show.
We couldn't have asked for anything better. Couldn't have asked for more from a team that is so young, that has such bright futures in Overwatch ahead of them. Jaewoo 16, Crescent and Hyun, their first year in Contenders. What a showing, but it's Poker Face who come out on top.
Oh, the rightful champions indeed. And hey, the pattern is broken.
It just took 7 maps for someone to win the other team's choice. Unreal.
Unbelievable performance once again. Oh, and for Poker Face, I mean, how sweet this must be. What a tough year for them.
It was tough. I mean, don't get me wrong. They were great at every step, but before this, the year was not what they wanted. Getting knocked out early in summer, in spring. Hardly even getting to actually face some of the Overwatch League teams. I mean, back in spring, they got knocked out by Dreamers in another 5-map series. Yesterday, they take down Dreamers in a reverse sweep. Today, they get revenge against XERO. The wherewithal, the grit of this team to never give up.
Never surrender, indeed. The question for us now is left but one. Our player of the match for the grand finals, for your champions here in Contenders Korea. You had to know.
I mean, Proud. I mean, him and Jaewoo were the two young guns. Proud actually younger than Jaewoo. I think that passed us by for a moment because we've seen him for a bit longer. You know, he was picked up by O2 Blast last year, sat on the bench some, but then he goes to Poker Face. He plays on a couple of different teams, just trying to find his footing, trying to really get his stride. I think it's safe to say he found it. Sure, he played 99.9% Bastion and didn't dare try and mirror Kilo on the Sojourn. But what an unbelievable presence he was through this entire series.
And the thing about being on a character like Bastion is that it takes buy-in from a player. We know that Proud is a flashy hit scan. We've seen the Widows in the past. We've seen the Sojourn performances as well. We've seen Proud be that carry. But here today, he takes another step in his career and picks the one character that just will get them the win. Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff.
Absolutely fantastic. We're off down onto the floor for an interview, folks.
파이널 매치 보내드렸습니다. 이번 올해 컨텐더스 코리아의 주인공 그랜드 파이널의 챔피언은 바로 제로였습니다. 축하드립니다.
So first, I want to announce the champions of Overwatch Contenders Korea.
죄송합니다. 제로가 아니라 포커페이스였습니다.
Poker Face.
옆에서 우리 프라우드 선수가 너무 감동의 눈물을 흘린 나머지 제가 정신을 차리지 못하고 있었습니다. 다시 한번 말씀드리겠습니다. 이번 그랜드 파이널의 주인공은
So one more time, I want to say one more time, our champions for the 2023 Overwatch Contenders Korea is Poker Face.
그런 감동을 받은 나머지 실수를 했는데 바로 한번 우리 승리의 주역 POTM 프라우드 선수 만나보도록 하겠습니다.
Let's have a conversation with Proud of Poker Face. How do you feel right now?
많은 감정들이 느껴져요. 행복했고
I have
지금도
a
행복하고
mixture of
형들이랑
feelings.
열심히 해가지고 좋은 성적 내니까 또
I'm
지금까지
happy
했던 것들 생각하면서 또
and
울컥하기도
also
하고.
I'm kind of holding back tears a
가장
little bit.
울컥했던 원인이 뭘까요?
아무래도
And I
이제
feel like I remember the
저희가
difficult times. It's kind of a mix
조별 라운드 때
of a lot of
제로한테 한번
emotions.
졌는데
네.
제가 친정팀 상대로 진 거였거든요.
So, what was
그래서
some of the
그때
difficulties
이제
that you faced?
다음에 만나면 무조건 이겨야겠다라고
So,
마음먹고
we actually lost against XERO on the group stages. XERO is my former team, so I really wanted to win against them. But now that I won against them in none other than the grand finals, it feels kind of weird.
네, 좀 긴장이 됐을 것 같아요.
네. 엄청 좀 긴장했어요 처음에.
Were there any nerves coming into this match particularly?
이게 잘 될까라는 생각으로 걱정이 좀 많았는데.
Of course,
막
this
잘
is a big
되니까
stage
좋았던 것
online.
아,
다행히.
I had some worries about whether my plays would work out, whether the team tactics would work out. I had a lot of worries, but it all came to be.
이제 심플 선수 지성이 형이 그렇게 아픈데도
So I actually heard that Simple was on IV drops until right before the match. Like, were there any concerns there? We were a little bit worried because Simple was in a physically bad condition, but we kind of made it through. And that's all that matters. And we also kind of had this internal team talk of where, like, we were like, hey, we may win or we may lose, but let's just do this without any regrets.
계속해서 바스티온 그리고 시메를 기용을 하시다가 리장 타워 때 상대 파르시도 나오고.
So let's talk about the compositions a little bit. We've seen a lot of Bastion from you, but we also saw Cassidy from you on Lijiang Tower. Can you explain that?
공이 있었는데 그때 막턴이었거든요. 그래서 이번 턴 이기면 이기겠다 해서 바스공으로 하나 잡고 파르시 포화 오는 거 그냥 내가 머리 가서 잡아야겠다.
So the opponent had Pharmacy, and then I had ult on Bastion. I just thought that Bastion wouldn't be enough to counter the Pharmacy threat, so I just used my ult early, got ourselves a turn, and then I changed to the Cassidy so that I can just quick headshot the Pharmacy.
만감이 교차할 것 같은데 가장 힘들 때 가장 도움이 되었던 가장 힘이 되었던 사람.
So, like you said, there were a lot of difficulties coming into the season. Do you have any people that you comes in mind that helped you go through these difficulties? Definitely my parents, my family. But if I want to single out a person, maybe Valentine. Not just Valentine, but our entire team, because they were so supportive of me throughout the season.
부모님께 한마디 해줄 수 있는 거잖아요. 한마디 해주시겠어요?
제가 처음부터
Also, do you have any messages to your parents that are on the venue here?
감사합니다.
Well, I mean, being a professional gamer isn't like necessarily the best career that a son can have, but still, thank you for supporting me throughout the highs and lows. Thank you.
이번 시즌 돌아보면 프라우드 선수는 어떤 일이 가장 기억에 남는지가 또 궁금합니다.
Looking back at the season, what comes first to your memory?
아마도 가장 오래 남는 건 지금일 거고 전까지 가장 기억에 남았던 건 그냥 매일 하는 연습과
I think
팀원들이
tonight
떠는 거
will
그게
be
가장 기억에 남는 것 같아요.
the biggest memory that I will have in my career so far.
계속 이제
And
이번
like, if I
시즌까지
just
쉬지 않고
exclude that,
달려오셨잖아요.
probably
연습만
the
하고.
practice that our
네,
team put into,
휴식기도 살짝
that's
가지실
going to be the
텐데
memories
그때
that are
가장
going to
하고
be
싶었던 게
in my mind for a
있을까요?
long time.
선수들 같이 놀았던 선수들이랑 여행도 가고 가족이랑도 여행도 가고 싶습니다.
So, what's your immediate plans for the future?
2023
Well, I don't want to
콘텐더스 코리아
really
그랜드
necessarily
파이널
think about the
우승,
career
우승이라는
part. I want to go
타이틀을
take a
얻으셨습니다.
break,
다음
maybe
프라우드
go on a
선수의
trip
목표가
with our
궁금한데요.
teammates and family.
아마 더 높은 대회에서 성적 내는 게.
But as a player, what's your
기대해
plan
보도록 하겠습니다.
looking like?
그렇다면 마지막으로
Definitely
이
playing in a
춤을
bigger
대표해서
stage,
포커페이스를
on a bigger
대표해서 팬분들께
tournament.
지켜봐 주신 팬분들께 한마디 부탁드리겠습니다.
Finally, before we go,
잘하다가
any last
캡처해서
messages to your
어제도
fans?
위험했는데 포기 안 하고 응원해 주셔서 감사합니다.
So it was kind of a bit of a close
다시 한번
call,
큰 박수
but thank
부탁드립니다.
you all the fans for cheering us through the highs and lows.
네,
Thank you so much.
지금까지 우승팀 포커페이스의
And that is the
프라우드
end of the
선수와
interview.
인터뷰
Back to you, Paul.
나눠봤습니다. 저는 여기서 인사드리고자 하는데요. 중계석으로 바로 마이크 넘겨드리도록 할 텐데요. 지금까지 아나운서 손혜민이었습니다. 여러분 고맙습니다.
Thank you all so much. Our amazing interviewer, Son Hye-min, our amazing translator, Unknown, and of course, Proud and Poker Face, congratulations again to them. What an unbelievable series. And I'm sorry, did he say that Simple was on an IV drip 20 minutes before the match?
Unbelievable.
And he was playing like that?
Unbelievable.
Truly wild. Just insane.
We told them, don't leave anything out there. You can't take anything home with you but the victory. And boy, did they ever. What a season. What a finals, Paul. What an incredible run here in Contenders Korea.
I'm not over the Simple IV thing. I mean, I know Proud was saying, I hope we get to go on a vacation. Maybe let Simple rest up. You know, take a few days and get yourselves a nice vacation. It's well earned. What a season. What a year. And Proud, too. Again, part of the pun. I am so proud of him as a player. Keep in mind, he's too young to have played in a lot of the Overwatch League this year, right? So when, teams go up that he was on, go up to the Overwatch League, he had to sort of find other options. Eventually, for our last season, he finds himself on Poker Face, and he runs through the entire bracket. What unbelievable matches. What an unbelievable weekend that we've had. We got a little bit of everything. Domination to close matches, as close as they come, and everything in between. Congratulations again to Poker Face. Just unbelievable. I sound like a broken record at this point, but just unbelievable.
What an end to the year here we have in Contenders Korea. I mean, this has been one of the most storied regions that we've seen in our sport. And they do not disappoint once more. Nah. Contenders Korea continues to put on a show that is unrivaled. Unbelievable.
I'm so glad we get to cast these games. That these games are here for us to cast. It's just been phenomenal. What a season we've had too, right? A brand new meta, a meta that I think is really fun, by the way.
Yeah.
I know like the Sigma Mirror can't, like if it's just like Sigma Bastion versus Sigma Bastion, that can maybe get a little bit stale, but we had so many different flavors. We had teams running the Orisa, the Wrecking Ball, the Doomfist, the Diva out of nowhere. Just a phenomenal end to a crazy year. I mean, the fact that we had Contenders teams playing against Overwatch League teams, that's something people have been asking for since what? Gauntlet 2019?
Oh my god,
right?
Yeah.
And then we just got it all year long, and then teams come back and they prove their wherewithal. None more than Poker Face. Insanity.
Tremendous. I mean, honestly, at the outset of this, I'm trying to pick just a favorite moment. Right? I mean, Proud look back is like, what was the moment in this season that stood out to you? I'm trying to find that for me for the year. Like, what was my moment of the year?
I think personally, maybe this is recency bias. I might have to go back to some of the like spring stage games to be sure. But man, that first like 5K from Kilo on Midtown earlier this season, where it's like just him alive pretty much, and he clutches and oh man, that's up there for me at the very least.
I think for me, like over the entirety of the year was the Rhodes versus with Taejong versus Jaewood, right?
Oh, sure. I think that was Rhodes versus actually XERO.
Yeah, where
in summer. Yeah.
Yeah, where it was like, this is what the future of the young superstars is going to look like. This is who your best players are going to be. And to see them go, head to head. We have some fantastic players in the history of Overwatch. Some that are still playing at the pinnacle of what is possible. And to think that there are going to be upstarts that come through in the next little while that are going to just make, plays that seem insane to us now seem routine in the future. I mean, that was the first taste of it. I think that was probably the highlight for me to see where we go next.
I mean, we've had 422 unique players who have actually played in Contenders Korea. Even more players who got signed and then, didn't play for whatever reason. It's 15 seasons. That's gonna happen some. Exactly 50 teams as well. And what a phenomenal way to close out our year, LaFawn.
Yeah, we have reached the summit of champions once more in Contenders Korea. The road of competition is not an easy one, Paul, but through the years, we have borne witness to the struggles of our players and their teams, and have told their stories, crying and cheering alongside them. But it's not just the competitors that we acknowledge today. Instead, I would also bring it outwards here at the end of this season to remember the competition isn't just winning and losing, but also the community who makes it so special. To the players and the staff, to the production who makes this show possible, to the giants who came before us, that Paul, myself, and of course all the other casters this season have attempted to fill the shoes of, but also to you, the community, the fans, to the players and the staff, thank you. Thank you so much. In the spirit of Overwatch, in this game that we love so much, remember to hope and fight for a better future. And we'll see you wherever that is. Good night.